the maximum level expert. She thrives in interstellar riches. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376, The Queen's Golden Whip 1. This needs to be baked again. Now that you have seen it, can you go out? Cynthia pointed at the door with the spray gun. You can go out that way. If you have anything, wait until I finish modifying the gun. Hearing this, Wen Jiu and the others walked towards the door. Just as they were thinking about how to open the door and leave, they suddenly heard Cynthia add, "Press the red button next to it to open the door." Wen Jiu, stay here. You guys go outside and wait first. So Jiu took the other three out. She and Cynthia had known each other for a long time, so she was not worried that she would do something bad. Don't you want to watch me modify the weapon? Come and sit here. Cynthia held the spray gun in one hand and the gun parts in the other. She was completely different from the previous laziness and sleepiness. At this moment, she looked so focused that she seemed like a different person. Wen Jiu had not taken off her protective glasses and mask yet. She walked quickly to Cynthia's operating table, where there was a small chair for her to sit close and watch carefully. As soon as she sat down, she heard the other party say, "You have wood type abilities, right? Can use a protective shield." So Wen Jiu moved his fingers slightly, and a touch of emerald green light spread in front of her, gradually condensing into a nearly transparent light green barrier. Then Cynthia randomly clicked a few times on the electronic panel embedded next to the table, and saw that the originally bright light in the room suddenly dimmed, and many light screens flashing blue light rose around the table. The light screen in the middle of the table was the largest. The light screen flashing blue light slowly moved down to become a plane, and a holographic projection of a pistol appeared on the light screen, making it difficult to tell whether it was a real gun or a projection. After Cynthia slid the electronic panel a few more times, she saw that many words appeared around the holographic projected pistol, and there were detailed numerical displays on the lower side of the words. Those jumping numerical values were extremely bright white light, and even Wen Jiu, who had never operated it before, could see it clearly at a glance. You don't think that I modified the weapon by simply spraying some paint on it, do you? Cynthia smiled and squeezed the mask tightly, and changed a new pair of gloves from the side, and put them on. She had so many accessories on her body, that every time she made a move, it would make a jingling sound. But it was obvious that no matter how many accessories she had, it would not affect her operation. "This is for grinding parts," Cynthia said, and picked up a tool with sharp gears from the tool table on the side of the table. The tool looked a bit like a screwdriver, but it had sharp gears at the tip. Cynthia held her breath and concentrated her energy for a moment, and a gun part on the table floated in the air, and then a touch of orange-red flame flew out from her fingertips, wrapping the part and burning it. She controlled the flame to burn the part red, and then she used her free hand to click twice on the electronic panel. After a few seconds, a slightly moist smoke filled the room. Wen Jiu looked in the direction where the smoke was the thickest, and then he found a container similar to a crucible placed in the corner, which constantly emitted white and thick smoke. After burning, it must be cooled rapidly, and then polished with tools, Cynthia said while controlling the flame to approach the crucible. The flames dissipated instantly when they were about to touch the crucible, and the wrapped parts fell into the crucible with a plop. "Dong dong, pick up the parts." As soon as she finished speaking, there was a crackling sound in the room. A mechanical arm suddenly appeared next to the crucible, picked up the parts from the crucible at a very fast speed, and quickly handed them to Cynthia. After she caught the parts steadily, she started the tool in her hand and began to grind. A buzzing sound rang out, accompanied by dazzling sparks flashing from time to time, which fascinated Wen Jiu for a while. "Can you tell which parts have been replaced?" Cynthia handled all the parts that needed to be polished, and she turned her head and caught a glimpse of Wen Jiu, who was staring at her intently. She had asked him to condense a barrier before, mainly to prevent sparks from flying and causing accidental injuries. "I can see part of it," Wen Jiu answered honestly. "Will this gun be easier to use after the modification?" For example, the distance from the trigger to the grip is shortened, and the user will be able to pull the trigger better. Cynthia quickly assembled the pistol. Yes, it seems that you are very serious in class. After that, she threw the pistol to Wen Jiu. Anyway, there was no bullet in the gun at the moment, so she could let him try how it feels. It is indeed easier to pull the trigger. Wen Jiu pulled the trigger twice seriously, and she could feel that it was less labor intensive than before. In the next hour or so, she watched Cynthia modify the gun that belonged to Jiu. Perhaps because she had modified it once, the other party's speed was significantly improved when modifying the second pistol. In addition to the sky blue paint that Jiu requested, Cynthia also added a white feather icon to the gun. Alas, I'm in my 20s and still haven't had a relationship. How come others are in their teens and are in love? Cynthia put the two modified pistols together, muttered a few words, and then took out Wen Jiu's nearly scrapped golden whip. Alas, your whip is really no different from scrap. She walked to the crucible with the whip and threw it into the crucible casually. Soak it for 10 minutes first, and then I'll see if I can modify it after it's soaked. It can be seen that Cynthia is really reluctant to modify this golden whip. She would rather tailor a new one for Wen Jiu. Thank you for your hard work, beautiful sister. Seeing this, Wen Jiu stood up and thanked her. Cynthia first glanced at her and then found a normal golden whip from the box. Because the appearance of the genuine golden whip is still quite good, she had collected several of them as collections. Does it take effort when you use this whip? She shook the golden whip in her hand casually twice. Anyway, she couldn't use this thing, so she could only admire the appearance and feast her eyes. Wen Jiu thought for a moment before answering. It is a bit laborious, and it consumes more mental energy than other weapons. After she finished speaking, Cynthia did not respond. After a while of silence, she asked her back, do you know why it is laborious? This question really involved Wen Jiu's knowledge blind spot, so she shook her head to indicate that she didn't know. Seeing her reaction, Cynthia just smiled and took out a lollipop. Anyway, there was no need to modify the weapon for the time being, and eating a candy would not affect anything. The sound of biting the candy rang in silence until she ate the whole lollipop. She slowly said, because no one knows how to use the golden whip, and it is a defective product itself. Today's first update is delivered on time. Thank you for the support of the little angels. 030. PS. The little author doesn't know guns. The information is all checked on Baidu. Please don't take it too seriously. Chapter 377 The Queen's Golden Whip 2. This really confused Wen Jiu. What does it mean that the golden whip itself is a defective product? Can a defective product be sold as a 5th level weapon? You don't know this, do you? Cynthia was very satisfied with Wen Jiu's surprised look. The full name of the golden whip is the Queen's Golden Whip. Have you ever thought about what this queen refers to? To be honest, Wen Jiu really didn't think about it. She thought it was just a bad taste of naming people. All the golden whips on the market are not real golden whips. They are just imitations of Zavina's god-killing whip. Cynthia told the story seriously, so Wen Jiu sat quietly and listened to her. At the beginning of the Interstellar era, it was not the current situation of federal unification. Except for the garbage planets with few people, other planets were self-declared and ruled by their own kings. Wars often broke out between planets, and the technology in the Interstellar era was very advanced, resulting in many casualties every time a war was fought, and the ecological environment of the planet would also be destroyed. In short, the impact was extremely serious. At that time, many people wanted to stop the war, but most of the rulers standing on high ground only wanted to conquer other planets. This situation continued until Zavina appeared. She led the peace army to defeat many armies and saved countless innocent lives. It is said that she could defeat thousands of people alone, even without driving a mecha. No one knows which planet she came from, and no one knows how she has such a powerful force. All they know is that her appearance broke the situation of interstellar wars. Because Zavina's reputation became more and more famous, some believers began to use the queen as her nickname. After all, she is more convincing than those kings who only want power, so the nickname of the queen spread from one person to 10, and then to 100. Later, everyone stopped calling her by her real name Zivana and called her the Queen directly. Just when Zivana was about to unify the Interstellar, many interstellar beasts appeared, and she led the peace army to start a 10-year war with the interstellar beasts. In short, Zivana is like a god descending to the earth. All the wars she commanded have never failed. She seems to be born for fighting, and her best weapon is the god-killing whip. Historical records say that the god-killing whip can kill 1,000 interstellar beasts with one whip. The god-killing whip exudes a dazzling golden light, but no one knows how the god-killing whip is made. Cynthia paused here and asked the mechanical arm to fish out the soaked golden whip. The wet golden whip was now dim, allowing Wen Jiu to see its damaged state at a glance. After Zivana disappeared unexpectedly, some of the things she left behind were passed down by believers. Some were snatched up and sold at high prices on the black market, and some disappeared along with her. Unfortunately, the god-killing whip is one of the items that disappeared. Wen Jiu could tell from Cynthia's words that she should be one of Zivana's believers. However, the legend of Zivana happened many years ago, and it stands to reason that many people would not believe in the person in the legend because of such an old story. At most, they would just feel very yearning. Do you know why I never wanted to transform the golden whip? Cynthia sneered. She was about to continue talking to herself when Wen Jiu started to ask, "Didn't you pay enough?" Ha ha ha. Cynthia laughed exaggeratedly. "Although I love money, this is not really about money. Because the golden whip is a replica of the god-killing whip, and it's a defective product that hasn't been fully imitated. So I don't bother to modify the golden whip. I think its role is at best to be an ornamental object. The person who made the golden whip is insulting the queen. He thinks that, as long as he can imitate the queen's weapon, he can create someone who can be like the queen." Cynthia's words were sarcastic, and it was obvious that she really hated the person who made the golden whip. "Then why did you agree to help me modify the golden whip?" Wen Jiu asked in confusion. "Because I'm stupid. I agreed to help Jiu modify your weapon, and I owed that person a favor." Cynthia shrugged helplessly. She didn't expect Wen Jiu to be that person's new baby. If she had known that such an embarrassing thing would happen, she would have announced that she would take a vacation and escape to another planet. Thinking of this, she sighed and continued listlessly, "You still have a chance to think about it before I modify it. I can customize a brand new long whip for you. You are the treasure of that lady after all, so learn from her kindness and be kind." After saying this, Cynthia put her hands together and moved them up and down towards Wen Jiu. It can be seen that she really doesn't want to modify the golden whip. Seeing this, Wen Jiu also sighed. "In fact, I don't have such a big obsession with the golden whip, and this broken golden whip is still picked up by me. I mainly think it is very convenient to use, so I want to modify it. If you really don't want to modify it, forget it, but can you let me practice with it?" Wen Jiu is not a person who likes to force others. Since Cynthia is unwilling to modify the golden whip, she will try to modify it herself, which just happens to be a practice. Although she is not a gold type superpower and cannot make mechas, she is a fire type superpower and can refine weapons. If she learns the skill of refining weapons, she will have another skill to make money. Really? Cynthia looked at Wen Jiu excitedly. "Practice whatever you want to practice." After she finished speaking, she remembered that learning transformation would take more time than watching her transformation. So she quickly added, "You can practice with the golden whip, but the time for learning transformation is very long. Even if I only teach you the basics, it will take at least 3 or 4 months. Then I will stay and practice today. I will go and tell Sister Kyo and the others." After Wen Jiu and Cynthia reached a consensus, she left the workshop to find Jiu and the other 4. Jiu was a little shocked when she learned that she was going to stay and study. She had known Cynthia for such a long time, but she was unwilling to teach her apprentice to learn to refine weapons, and even did not allow outsiders to enter her workshop. But she soon calmed down and told Wen Jiu to go back early after learning, and that Cynthia's temper was rather strange, so she told him to be mentally prepared. "Okay, Sister Kyo." Wen Jiu responded with a smile, and then turned to tell Zikingayu and Kyo Shishi. After all, Wen's restaurant still has to do business. Fortunately, Zeking Guy has learned how to make golden egg fried rice. Although the taste is quite ordinary, it at least does not taste like a dark dish. Coupled with the frozen dumplings and glutinous rice balls in the refrigerator, they should be able to open the store tonight, to cope with it for a while. The only difficult one to deal with is Chu Jian. Wen Jiu walked up to him and threatened him, which made the other party behave a little better. The second update of the day has also been successfully delivered. Thank you again for the support of the Little Angels 030, whispering, reviewer, I really didn't write anything weird, please don't delete my chapter title, thank you. Cack. And the little author has been busy recently, and may not be able to reply to the thank you card in the first time, but I will definitely reply. Occasionally drop a voice thank you card to he030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378 The Queen's Golden Whip 3. The crucible is filled with ace condensate. Don't touch it with your hands. Long whips like the Golden Whip need to be soaked in ace condensate for about 10 minutes before transformation, because the surface is plated with metal materials that need to be removed, and there are residual metal particles on the whip body that need to be removed. Cynthia taught Wen Jiu seriously. If her initial favorability towards Wen Jiu was 20, then her current favorability has been successfully raised to 50. The other party is indeed very talented in refining weapons. He learned to disassemble weapon parts in just 1 hour. Although the Golden Whip looks like a whole piece that does not need to be disassembled, it actually contains countless small parts, so it is particularly troublesome to disassemble it, and it requires great patience to completely disassemble the Golden Whip. This is the last part. Cynthia looked at Wen Jiu with approval as he finished disassembling the Golden Whip. Your Golden Whip is really badly damaged. Most of the parts inside need to be replaced. Look at these flying conches, armor plates, and silver nails. They all need to be replaced. As she spoke, she fiddled with the table with her gloved hands. Most of these parts were damaged and could not be used anymore. However, she was a little confused as she looked at it. She had disassembled several Golden Whips herself, but many of the parts of this Golden Whip were things she had never seen before, and were even old. So she looked at Wen Jiu with some doubts. Where did you pick up this Golden Whip? Did you get a pirated copy? Because the Federation has very strict control over the sale of weapons, many people who cannot buy genuine weapons will sell some counterfeit pirated weapons on the black market. It is not ruled out that there are masters among the people, but buying weapons on the black market basically depends on luck. Many people who don't know the business are particularly easy to be deceived when buying weapons on the black market, because the water in the weapon refining industry is really deep. Take the Golden Whip for example. It is easy to imitate the same appearance, but it is difficult to make the internal structure. I don't know. I picked it up. Wen Jiu didn't know the difference between the genuine and pirated ones. She picked up this Golden Whip in a hurry, and she thought it was a rope at first. It was not, until she studied it carefully and went to the weapon practice room, that she found that the tattered rope was not a rope, but a long whip classified as a 5th level weapon. Where did you pick it up? Cynthia didn't know Wen Jiu's previous experience. She was just wondering why this whip was pirated and of such poor quality. It was so poor that few people would buy it if it was sold as scrap. Wen Jiu felt embarrassed when she heard this. In fact, this Golden Whip was not so tattered at first. It was just that after she came back from the Dianyi forest, she didn't know why this whip became like this now. Not only was the surface dull, but there were also many small black spots on the whip that seemed to be corroded, as if it would break and become scrapped if it was swung a few more times. But she still answered seriously, I picked it up at the garbage dump. Maybe I used it more later, so it became like this now. Cynthia had nothing to say about this. Although she did not support buying pirated products, she could not comment on it, since it was picked up by someone else. Then find the parts that need to be replaced, and I will get you new ones to install. By the way, I will also help you find the metal particles. The metal particles originally injected into the golden whip are actually not suitable for it, which is also one of the reasons why it is difficult to wield it. Cynthia unknowingly began to help Wen Jiu transform the golden whip. Although he was the one who was operating it, she helped to find the materials. It was not until the reminder sound of the electronic clock sounded that she realized that it was already 12 o'clock at midnight. On the table in front of her and Wen Jiu, there was a golden whip that was almost transformed. I was scammed. Woohoo, I was scammed. Cynthia squatted on the ground with a look of grievance. How can you let me help you modify the golden whip? You clearly said that you practiced it yourself. Wen Jiu felt very aggrieved when she heard this, and she silently complained. I didn't ask you to help me modify it. You took the initiative to help. I don't know where those materials and parts are. They are all yours. Shut up. Shut up. Cynthia interrupted her directly. Because what Wen Jiu said was indeed very reasonable. It made Cynthia feel very embarrassed. So she chose to interrupt this conversation to avoid losing her face too thoroughly. Okay, what should we do now? Wen Jiu was very tactful and didn't say anything else, but this golden whip was almost modified, and it was not a solution to leave it like this. Of course, she hoped that Cynthia could help her modify it so that she would have a brand new golden whip. In any case, the golden whip is a 5th level weapon, and the pistols chosen by Kyoshi and Zikingayu are only 3rd level. As expected, if you find it, you will make a profit. I don't know how many star coins it will cost to buy a 5th level weapon, but it won't be cheap. Forget it, the matter is done. Cynthia took a deep breath. Next, I will guide you to find materials and modify it yourself. If you can modify this golden whip, you can use it. If you can't modify it, forget it. I will find you a new long whip. Everything is fate. I'm really unlucky. She was forced to accept the reality and began to guide Wen Jiu on how to proceed. Fortunately, Wen Jiu's comprehension is quite high, and the remaining steps are not difficult. It didn't take long for the whip body of the golden whip to be shaped. The next thing to do is the whip handle and paint. The whip handle needs to be made by herself, which is quite difficult for a novice. She failed 4 or 5 times in a row before she made a decent whip handle model. Cynthia was quite surprised by this, because she couldn't guarantee that she could make a decent whip handle within 10 times when she was a novice. This made her feel that Wen Jiu was indeed a plastic talent, so she gave more detailed instructions. Yes, clamp it with a clip and put it in the ace gel. Wait for 1 minute and you can take it out, then sprinkle it with red heart grass powder and bake it with your fire ability. You can stop baking it when it glows, and then put it in the ace gel to soak for 5 minutes. The two worked until more than 4 in the morning, and then completed the transformation of the golden whip. However, this cannot be considered a transformation of the golden whip, because in addition to the name and appearance of the golden whip, the internal parts, the outer coating, and the whip handle have all been replaced with different materials from before. Alas, I said I wouldn't help you, but I ended up helping you halfway. Cynthia pouted and slumped in the chair. She felt that the lollipop in her mouth was not sweet anymore. But it must be said that the golden whip that she and Wen Jiu transformed together looks more delicate and beautiful than the original golden whip, and its power has also increased a lot. Today's 3rd update is also delivered. Thank you again for the support of the little angels. 030 woo woo woo. I will try my best to update more. CAC. Chapter 379 The Queen's Golden Whip 4. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and the sky was just beginning to turn pale, with a thin mist. The harsh sound of whips resounded through the sky, and the flying shadows made it difficult to see clearly. This is strange. It shouldn't be so strenuous after the transformation. Cynthia looked at the panting Wen Jiu with a puzzled look. The other party began to turn pale and sweat profusely after only lashing the whip a dozen times. Although she was not solely responsible for the transformation of this golden whip, it was also completed with her guidance and help. It should be easier to use than before. But the current situation was not what she expected. Wen Jiu became weaker every time he swung the whip. It seemed that this golden whip was more difficult to control than before, even more difficult to use than the original golden whip. I don't think it's the whip. Wen Jiu bent over and panted heavily. Have you forgotten what you said before? No one has found the correct way to use the golden whip yet. Well, how should I put it? Cynthia smiled awkwardly. You have also taken combat classes in the academy. You should know that many weapons require mental power, right? She didn't need to say anything more about this. Wen Jiu naturally knew it. The weapons of the Federation are roughly divided into 10 levels. The higher the level of the weapon, the more mental power it consumes. The use of weapons of level 5 and above almost all requires mental power support. As for those weapons below level 5, there is nothing that requires mental power consumption. Even ordinary people with extremely low mental power and no superpowers can use them. Mental power is different from superpowers. Mental power is an innate ability of all people in the Federation. But the level of mental power is innate and cannot be improved through later training like superpowers. At most, the use of mental power can become more proficient through training, but it is almost impossible to change from a person with low mental power to a person with high mental power. This is also the reason why commanders of federal military regions are extremely rare. After all, the level of mental power is determined by heaven. However, the golden whip that Wen Jiu picked up was an exception. It was almost in tatters when it was picked up. It could not be considered a normal 5th level weapon at all. At most, it could be considered an ordinary 2nd level weapon. Therefore, the trafficker who wanted to kidnap Wen Jiu could use it easily. I know, but don't you think that using the golden whip consumes too much mental energy? Wen Jiu calmed down before standing up again. She always felt that there was something wrong with the way the golden whip was used. Because it consumed too much mental energy every time it was swung. She felt that her mental energy was almost drained after 10 or so swipes. Cynthia shrugged her shoulders nonchalantly. I said the golden whip was a defective product, so it's normal for this to happen. The golden whip was made by some so-called masters in the Federation, based on the historical data of the god-killing whip. On the surface, they wanted to create a former artifact to prove that gods can be artificially created. In fact, to put it bluntly, they just want to make some money by using the gimmick of the god-killing whip. You know, when the golden whip was launched on the market, it was a battle of hand speed and sold very well. As for the subsequent development, she had already talked about it once, so she was too lazy to repeat it at this time. Seeing that Wen Jiu still wanted to continue practicing, she couldn't help but raise her voice and said, "It's 5 o'clock in the morning now. You don't sleep. You have to let me sleep, right?" 5 o'clock. Wen Jiu didn't realize that time passed so quickly. She thought it was only 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was mainly because Cynthia's shop was located in the basement and she couldn't observe the situation in the sky outside. And she was immersed in the process of modifying the weapon, and she didn't have time to look at the display on the electronic clock. She didn't expect that this immersion in weapon transformation would last until 5 in the morning, but she felt that she was not sleepy at all at this time, and she could even practice using the golden whip for a few more hours. But her ability to endure did not mean that Cynthia could endure it. The other party had accompanied her for a whole night. If she didn't leave tactfully, it would be a bit too much. So she politely expressed her gratitude to Cynthia and said that she would make some desserts to show her gratitude. Because she felt that Cynthia liked to eat lollipops, she thought that she would also like desserts. Forget about the dessert you made. Cynthia felt sick when she thought of the bowl of black unknown objects. She remembered that Kyojuan said that the fairy grass was made by Wen Jiu. She felt that from the bowl of unknown objects, she could see that the child in front of her definitely couldn't make desserts, so she didn't want to receive some strange dark dishes. Wen Jiu was a little confused when she heard this. It was the first time that someone refused to send her dessert. Could it be that she was wrong? Cynthia didn't really like desserts. If you really want to thank me, why not pay off the favor I owe you, Rumen? Cynthia looked at Wen Jiu with a smile. She owed you, Rumen, a big favor because of something. If it weren't for this favor, and the fact that she and you, Rumen, had a good relationship, she wouldn't have agreed to teach Wen Jiu how to modify weapons. The technology of refining weapons is the livelihood of a refiner, so it can't be taught to outsiders casually. What's more, she is a rare 6th level refiner on planet 3047. It is really a great deal for Wen Jiu to learn refining weapons for free. That won't do. That's between you and teacher Yu. Wen Jiu is a clear-headed person. She won't take advantage of you Rumen without her knowledge, just because she has a close relationship with her. Aren't you her adopted daughter? And I violated my faith to help you transform the golden whip. No matter what, you owe me a big favor. But you are a little brat who has nothing to ask for. I don't know how long it will take for me to repay you. Instead of doing this, it's better to use your mother's favor to settle it. Cynthia said soft words with reason and emotion. Because the favor she owed was quite big, she thought it would be best if it could be written off. Unfortunately, Wen Jiu was not moved by soft words and insisted that he would handle his own affairs. He would never call you Rumen to borrow this favor to repay him. You little brat are really heartless. I've been here with you all night. It's not that I won't repay you for this favor, and maybe one day you will need my help. The two argued for a long time until the alarm of the electronic clock rang, making them realize that it was already 6:30 in the morning. They stopped arguing temporarily. Finally, Cynthia gave in. She said that she would squeeze Wen Jiu hard when she found an opportunity and let him be prepared to be squeezed. Wen Jiu was not worried about these. After thanking him again, she put away the golden whip and 2 pistols and then returned to Wen Jiu restaurant according to her memory. Today's first update has been delivered. Please check it out, little angels. 030R. I have been scratching my head thinking about the plot these days. ORZ. Some plots are not that simple, although the author himself is not very smart, but he has carefully conceived and laid the groundwork. CAC. Chapter 380 Return to the Slums 1. Chu Jian, what are you doing sleeping here? Wen Jiu originally wanted to take a nap on the second floor, but as soon as she opened the door, she saw Chu Jian curled up on the sofa. I thought you were going to concentrate on learning how to refine weapons and would never come back. Chu Jian sat up and stretched lazily. He said this is a joke. After all, the other party would not leave Wen Jiu restaurant alone. Wen Jiu glanced at him speechlessly. You haven't answered me yet. Why don't you go home to sleep but sleep here? If you are not here, how dare that little girl be alone with me? Chu Jian shrugged helplessly. It sounded like he didn't want to go home and sleep in the big bed, but Kyoshi was really afraid to be alone with him, and he didn't want to argue with a little girl at his age. Anyway, the second floor of Wen Jiu restaurant was a residence, so he thought he could sleep here for one night, and he could just recall the past and feel sad. In the end, what made him most sad was not the past, but the bedroom door that could not be opened. He had no idea that Wen Jiu would lock the doors of both bedrooms, and the 2 kids didn't have the key to open the door, so he could only sleep on the sofa for the night. Well, old Chu told me not to touch your room before, so I kept the door locked. Wen Jiu really didn't think things through, and she locked the door of the master bedroom out of habit, and it wasn't targeting Chu Jian. She was busy renovating the golden whip last night and didn't think about the door being locked at all, nor did she think that Kyoshi would need to be alone with Chu Jian after she was gone. So she quickly opened the doors of the 2 bedrooms and then made a gesture of invitation to Chu Jian. Can I sleep in the master bedroom? Chu Jian only glanced at the guest bedroom and didn't want to go in, even though this was where he had lived for more than 10 years. Because there was visible dust flying inside, he decisively asked to go to the master bedroom to rest. However, Wen Jiu didn't give him a chance to choose, and walked into the master bedroom quickly and closed the door. This smooth action really stunned him. He thought the other party would say some great truths to persuade him, but this man was like a gangster, not giving him any chance to seize the initiative. Chu Jian, you can either clean the guest room yourself and go to sleep, or stay in the living room. Wen Jiu's voice came from the master bedroom, and Chu Jian couldn't help but clench his fists. He could not bear it, because he couldn't even beat a second level superpower user after his body recovered. And in this case, he could only stay here. If he went to other places, he would have to live a miserable life of eating and sleeping in the open. So he put on a hat and a mask and went downstairs silently, thinking of finding some cleaning tools to clean his bedroom. In case Wen Jiu didn't let him live at home in the future, he could at least live here and barely get by. Chu Jian just found the cleaning tools in the bathroom and saw a gorgeously dressed auntie walked in. He was very familiar with this auntie. After all, she was a famous loudspeaker in the commercial district. "Oh, Wen Jiu, why are you guys opening the store so early?" Sister Chen walked into Wen Jiu restaurant with a smile on her face. She remembered that the restaurant used to open its doors to customers at noon, but she didn't expect that it would be open before 8 AM today. Could it be that Wen Jiu decided to sell breakfast? Ever since she tasted the hot and sour noodles here, she has had trouble eating other food. To be honest, before she came to Wen Jiu restaurant to eat, she never felt that she was eating dark cuisine, and even felt that the food she ate was fragrant and delicious. It was not until she came to Wen Jiu restaurant to eat hot and sour noodles, egg fried rice and crayfish that she realized that the food she had eaten for decades was completely the ultimate dark cuisine that was difficult to swallow. Unfortunately, Wen Jiu restaurant only sells lunch and dinner, so she can only rely on drinking nutrient solution to make ends meet in the morning. Now that she sees Wen Jiu restaurant open in the morning, it is hard not to wonder if they are going to sell breakfast. Ahem, what's up, auntie? Chu Jian's voice was already very low, and it had a bit of a smoky, evil, and magnetic tone. Now that he deliberately lowered his voice again, there was a strange, ethereal feeling coming from deep underground. Sister Chen first looked at him in confusion, and then asked in a shrill voice, "You are the new waiter hired by Wen Jiu restaurant? I didn't expect the boy to be so tall." She was busy visiting relatives in the past 2 days, and no one was in the commercial district, and even her own store was not open. The news that Wen Jiu restaurant had a new waiter was told to her by other residents in the commercial district, who did not go to visit relatives. Haha, it's okay, it's okay. Chu Jian squeezed the mask with a guilty conscience. He sighed in his heart that it was fortunate that he brought a hat and a mask when he went downstairs. Otherwise it would be embarrassing if Sister Chen recognized his identity. Although he had been away from home for 3 or 4 years, he could not guarantee that people here would not recognize him. Sister Chen kept staring at him sweeping and mopping the floor, which made him feel an inexplicable sense of guilt. Thinking back to when he was a kid and was naughty in the commercial district, the other party also stared at him closely and then told his grandfather all the bad things he did. "Young man, have I seen you somewhere before?" Chu Jian was originally reminiscing while cleaning, and he was also thinking about how to get rid of Sister Chen so that he could go back to the second floor to clean the bedroom, but he suddenly heard the other party say this, and he was almost shocked to throw the mop out. But he still pretended to be calm and replied, "I shouldn't, auntie. I just moved to Donghu district some time ago, and I have been living in other places before." Hearing this, Sister Chen smiled and continued, "Really? Then maybe I remembered it wrong. Hey, young man, how old are you this year? Do you have a girlfriend? The daughter of the old Li family in our commercial district?" "Auntie, I haven't reached the legal age for marriage in the Federation." Chu Jian was a little helpless, "and I'm still young. I'm not in a hurry to find a partner." He knew that Sister Chen was this kind of extremely enthusiastic personality, likes to join in the fun and watch the fun, and is also keen on introducing people to blind dates. "Okay then." Sister Chen smacked her lips and asked, "Are you open in the morning? I haven't had breakfast yet." She originally wanted to take a walk and then go back to have a bite and then wait to come to Wen Jiu restaurant for lunch at noon, but as soon as she went out, she saw the door of Wen Jiu restaurant open. Chu Jian shook his head after hearing her question, and at the same time, he was glad that he had found a reason to get rid of her. He cleared his throat and said, "We are closed in the morning. Auntie, if you have nothing else to do, you can leave first. I have to lock the door and go back upstairs to clean up." Today's second update is also delivered. Thank you for the support and love of the little angels. Thank you everyone. 030. Chapter 381 Return to the Slums 2. Wen Jiu restaurant's business at noon today was much better than yesterday. Perhaps it was because everyone had returned from visiting relatives, and there were many tourists visiting the East Lake Scenic area, so there were many more customers eating there than yesterday. The festive atmosphere of the spring festival was still very strong. Red decorations were hung everywhere in the commercial area, such as lanterns, window decorations, and couplets. In short, people felt happy and cheerful when they saw them. Sister Jiu, why are you leaving again, just after you came back? Zikingai had just fiddled with his new pistol when Wen Jiu said that he was going out for a while and asked them to take good care of Wen Jiu restaurant. Then do you want to go out with me? Wen Jiu was putting food into the lunchbox. She planned to put the lunchbox into the Ziji space and then take the food to see old friends. She also bought some New Year's goods as gifts, but she had already put them in the Ziji space. Hearing this, Kyoshi was the first to respond. Can I go with you? It's so boring to stay in the store. Sure. Wen Jiu thought for a moment and agreed. She thought it was okay to take Kyoshi with her, but she didn't know if she would regret it after she went there. After all, the place she was going to was far away and dilapidated, belonging to the slums that they had never been to. After more than 10 minutes of conversation, Wen Jiu was forced to take everyone to take the floating bus. It was originally agreed that Chujian would stay in the store to look after the store, but I don't know what this wooden-headed Zikingai was thinking. No matter what, she had to take the other party with her. If someone who didn't know saw it, they would think that the two of them had a good relationship. Why haven't we arrived yet? Zikingai felt that she had been sitting in the car for a long time. Sister Jiu, where are you going? Hearing this, Wen Jiu glanced at him and said, there are still 7 stops to go. If you can't wait, get off the bus and sit back. I'm just asking, then I'll wait obediently. Zikingai had long been accustomed to being confronted by the other party. He was just curious about where the bus was going after sitting for so long. They had already been on the bus for nearly 2 hours, so taking 7 more stops was not a big deal. But when it was time to get off the bus, all 3 of them, except Wen Jiu, were shocked. If I remember correctly, this should be the slums. Zikingai had never been to the slums before, but just by looking at the uneven and shabby houses here, the streets with garbage piled up randomly, and the rats that roamed around from time to time, he could guess that this was the slums. Yeah, what's wrong? Wen Jiu led them forward while answering their questions. Zikingai had the most questions among the 3 because he was curious about what Wen Jiu was doing in the slums. He knew Wen Jiu's miserable background, so he felt that, since he had finally escaped from the slums, he would not choose to return to such a place. Isn't this the spring festival, when I visit relatives? I don't have any relatives to visit, but there are people who have taken care of me. I think I should come to visit them during the holidays. After walking for 10 minutes, they finally saw their destination. There was a simple hand sign hanging outside the empty scrapyard, with the 8 characters Grandma Zao's resource recycling station engraved on it, half of which was rusted. Wen Jiu was originally in a happy mood, but the moment she stepped into the scrapyard, it disappeared. She remembered that, when she came last time, the scrapyard was full of miscellaneous scraps except for the small road that was vacant for driving and walking. It can be seen that Grandma Zao's scrap business is still very hot. But now she glanced over and saw that the scrapyard was empty, with only a small corner piled with a small amount of scrap. We don't accept scrap anymore. Please go somewhere else. Is it you? Wang Nan was much thinner than before, and he was not as energetic as before. He was originally clearing out the remaining scraps, and when he saw someone coming in, he thought someone was here to sell scraps again. As a result, he looked up and saw the little girl walking in front. Although she looked very different from before, he was still able to recognize her successfully after careful identification. After all, her platinum hair was too conspicuous, and he had never seen another person with this hair color. And he thought that the child would not come back after going to school, but he did not expect to see her again today. Hello, Brother Wang, Wen Jiu greeted with a smile. Excuse me, is Grandma Zao here? Although she had only met once, she still had some impression of Wang Nan. Grandma Zao is resting in the house. What do you want to see her for? Wang Nan forced a smile. The main reason was that too many things had happened recently, and he himself did not like to be pretentious, so it was good enough that he could force his smile to respond to Wen Jiu. Wen Jiu observed him inconspicuously for a moment before slowly saying, I'm here to give you some New Year's gifts. It's just the spring festival. There is no rule that you can only visit relatives and friends on the second day of the spring festival, so many people will choose to visit on the third or fourth day. You kid, just come here. Why do you buy things? Wang Nan later heard about Wen Jiu from Grandma Zhao and naturally knew that this child was also a miserable person. He also regretted his stinginess, but the other party went to college to study, and there was no chance for him to make up for it. Wen Jiu exchanged a few more pleasantries with him, and the two stopped chatting until Grandma Zhao was awakened by the noise outside. Mainly because Grandma Zhao was old and couldn't sleep for a long time, she woke up before Wen Jiu came, but she was still a little tired, so she lay down for a while. Oh, you could have grown so tall. Grandma Zhao walked towards them tremblingly, and Wen Jiu ran over to support her. Seeing this, Grandma Zhao smiled and shook her head and said, oh, I'm old. My legs and feet are not very flexible. Grandma Zhao, you are still young. How can you be old? Wen Jiu coaxed her with a smile. You can see that you didn't rest well. If you rested well, you would have to climb 3 floors in one breath. Grandma Zhao was very happy with her words, and the smile on her face never disappeared. Then Wen Jiu introduced the 3 people she brought to the other party. Ziqingyu and Kaioshishi both greeted them obediently, and only Chu Jiayan was stared at by Grandma Zhao for a few more times. Child, I don't think this boy looks like a good person. Grandma Zhao leaned close to Wen Jiu. You 3 kids have to be careful. Why are you wearing a mask and a hat in broad daylight? Hearing this, Wen Jiu smiled awkwardly. She thought there was nothing wrong with wearing a mask and a hat, but the elderly might find it strange. They were chatting in the small broken house, and suddenly they heard Wang Nan's shouting. Grandma Zhao, those little animals can no longer be kept in captivity. Today's third update has also been successfully delivered. Hehe, it was delivered on time. Thank you all again. 030. Chapter 382 Stray Animals 1. Wang Nan's loud shouting made Wen Jiu and the others stunned. What do you mean those little animals can't be kept in? Zhao Wang, try to scatter some feed for them. Granny Zhao walked towards the shack where the shouting came from, looking a little anxious. Her legs were not very flexible to begin with, and she was so anxious that she limped when she walked, which was heartbreaking to watch. Wen Jiu and Kaioshishi ran up at the same time, and then supported her on the left and right to walk towards the shack. If it weren't for Wang Nan's shouting, none of them would have noticed the existence of the shack. Although Wen Jiu had been to the scrapyard several times before, every time she came here, except for the sidewalk and Granny Zhao's small house, there were piles of scrap as high as a small mountain everywhere, so she hadn't observed other corners of the scrapyard. This shack looked like it was built in a hurry, and it was made of materials such as stones and wooden boards. A lot of straw was laid on the top layer to cover the gaps. Just looking at it made people feel that it was very simple and inferior. Grandma Zhao pushed open the wooden door of the shack with shaking hands. Everyone looked inside and saw that in addition to Wang Nan, who was covered in stains, there were countless small animals running around inside. Perhaps because of the arrival of strangers, those dirty cats and dogs started to make a fuss. Some cats burrowed in the straw, making the straw and cotton on the ground fly all over the house. There were more puppies and big dogs than cats. They rushed towards the door enthusiastically with barking one after another. Help. So scary. Woo. So cute. The voices of Ziqingyu and Kaioshishi sounded at the same time, but the former was very panicked by the dog's attack, while the latter showed a starry-eyed expression of love. This completely different reaction made them look at each other, and then quickly looked away, and pretended nothing happened. You are actually afraid of dogs, Ziqingyu. Kaioshishi took the lead in attacking. I really didn't expect that. Some people said they wanted to be the best in the galaxy, but in the end they were scared by a few cute puppies and hid behind. Hearing this, Ziqingyu forced himself to calm down and retorted, what's wrong with being afraid of dogs? Many people are afraid of dogs, okay? And some dogs can also transform into interstellar beasts. Aren't you afraid of interstellar beasts? You two stop arguing. Wen Jiu gave each of them a look, and then he and Kaioshishi helped Grandma Zhao walk inside. However, there were too many enthusiastic dogs. They all rushed over and barked, which made Zikingayu dare not even take a step inside. He could only stand at the door with Chujayan and watch. "Brother, are you afraid of dogs too?" He saw Chujayan standing here without moving, so he thought that the other party should be afraid of dogs like him. As a result, Chujayan suddenly barked twice and instantly attracted several puppies. He didn't go in just because he didn't want to, not because he was afraid of dogs or cats. He just felt that when he saw those stray cats, he had the illusion of seeing his former cat form. To be honest, he really didn't want to become a cat again. When he was a cat, he had almost no human thoughts. He was often in a state of confusion and only knew to escape and attack instinctively. "Help." Zikingayu jumped up immediately and then strode to a position slightly away from the door. His shouting interrupted the conversation between Wen Jiu and Wang Nan. If the other party hadn't been busy looking for Wang Nan to understand the current situation, he would definitely have been punched. "Don't worry about him, let's continue talking." Wen Jiu glanced at the door and saw Chujayan squatting there teasing the dog, so she didn't care about anything else. She learned from Wang Nan that Grandma Zhao picked up a litter of unwanted puppies 4 months ago and originally wanted to raise them as pets at the scrapyard. Maybe they could even guard the door after they grew up. As a result, not long after, a cardboard box was thrown at the door of the scrap station. When he opened it, he found 4 or 5 kittens inside. He originally proposed to send all the kittens to the Animal Management Bureau, but after he contacted the Animal Management Bureau, the people there said that the Animal Management Bureau had no place to put pets recently and hoped that they could help raise them first. Grandma Zhao has always been kind-hearted. She thought it would be no problem to raise a few more cats, so she kept the 4 or 5 kittens. However, less than 2 days later, another cardboard box containing animals appeared. He later checked the surveillance, but did not find any suspicious people. The cardboard box seemed to appear out of thin air. You don't know how scary the surveillance screen is. The door of our scrap station was empty in the last second, and a cardboard box appeared there in the next second. Wang Nan said, while gesturing with his hands. He was really troubled by these cardboard boxes containing animals. But Grandma Zhao's adoption capacity is always limited. When the mysterious cardboard box appeared again, they could only take the cardboard box to the Animal Management Bureau for help. However, the Animal Management Bureau has also been troubled by these animals recently. In addition to the mysterious cardboard box here at Grandma Zhao, other citizens have also said that they have picked up stray animals. Some of them appeared directly at their doorsteps, while others were in the same situation as Grandma Zhao. In short, these stray animals appeared very suddenly, and the shelter of the Animal Management Bureau has long been full. The staff said that these may all be abandoned pets, because after testing, it was found that some animals had traces of chip removal, and some only had the chip information erased, but the registration chip was still retained on them. Then you also know Grandma Zhao, she especially doesn't like these little animals to be homeless, so she joined the so-called stray animal rescue plan. At first I didn't have any objections, but later the Animal Management Bureau couldn't allocate funds, so Grandma Zhao had to pay for these little animals herself. Wang Nan didn't need to say the rest. Wen Jiu could guess roughly. There are countless little animals in this shack. Even if they are only fed with rice and vegetables every day, it is a considerable expense in a day. Moreover, she heard from Wang Nan that Grandma Zhao was very kind to these small animals. She fed them real cat and dog food every day, and also served them with freshly cooked chicken breast. Grandma Zhao's income was not enough to support such expenses. In the long run, even the scrapyard business was about to go out of business. If I hadn't stopped Grandma Zhao from putting some straw and cotton on these cats and dogs, she would have bought cat and dog beds. Just think about it, she only has such a small amount of savings. How can she buy so many pet supplies? Now the scrapyard business is about to go out of business, and I still owe my wages for more than a month. If I didn't feel sorry for Grandma Zhao, I would have. Oh, forget it. Wang Nan stopped talking here. Although he was particularly stingy, he was still a kind person. Today's first update has been successfully delivered. Thank you for your support. Thank you to every little angel 030. Recently, after finishing my work during the day, I have been typing, and after typing, I have been reading and studying ORZ. I always feel that my writing still has many shortcomings. I'm working hard to learn and improve. Thank you to every little angel who can persist and see me now. You are really great, cack. Thank you to the little angels who made suggestions in the comments area. Thank you ORZ. Chapter 383 Stray Animals 2. When Jiu finally understood the whole story, she didn't expect that Grandma Zao would be so kind that she would rather go bankrupt to keep these cats and dogs. But it was expected. If it weren't for Grandma Zao's kindness, how could she have exchanged the waste among the waste for food or star coins when she was living on the streets? It's not that she hasn't been to other scrapyards, but those scrapyards only accept waste with recycling value. At the beginning, when she was not proficient in picking up garbage, many of the things she picked up were things that could not be recycled. Later, relying on the original owner's memory and her proficiency in picking up garbage many times, she knew which garbage she picked up and sold, and which were really garbage among garbage and waste among waste. What does Grandma Zao think now? She won't want to sell the scrapyard and continue to keep these stray animals, right? Wen Jiu asked with some concern, but Wang Nan couldn't tell what Grandma Zao was thinking. They only knew that the scrapyard would not be sold for the time being because there was no other place to keep these stray animals except the scrapyard. They wondered if the animals were particularly noisy because they were hungry, so at this moment, Grandma Zao took Kaioshishi to the backyard to get food. When Grandma Zao and Kaioshishi came back with the food, the animals really stopped making noises and gathered around them with their noses twitching. Even the puppies that were originally being stroked by Chuchayan couldn't wait to run towards Grandma Zao's direction. It can be seen that they were indeed starving. Seeing this, Wang Nan scratched his head in confusion and said, "It shouldn't be like this. I fed them well at noon. How come they are hungry before 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Brother Wang, what time do you usually feed them?" Hearing what he said, Wen Jiu couldn't help but lean over and ask. "Because Grandma Zao has difficulty walking, I live here after I came here to work. Then I feed them once at 8 o'clock in the morning, give them a snack at noon, and feed them again at 6 o'clock in the afternoon." Wang Nan talked about how he fed these animals and how difficult they were to take care of. He was exhausted just by cleaning the shack. However, although he complained, he still helped Grandma Zao feed these stray animals. Because Grandma Zao and Kaioshishi couldn't move too much, he followed them when they went to get food for the second time, and then he was busy feeding these animals when he came back. It's not that Kaioshishi didn't want to use a Zigi space to move directly, but it was mainly because Grandma Zao kept stopping her from helping, saying that she looked like a rich girl from a wealthy area and couldn't do such rough work. Oh, why is this grandma so stubborn? Kaioshishi stood beside Wen Jiu. She had finally convinced Grandma Zao to let her help carry the food, but after she brought the food here, she stopped her from feeding the stray animals, saying that she was afraid that her clothes would get dirty and smelly. But she was really not that squeamish, and she liked these small animals very much. Hearing this, Wen Jiu sighed and replied, "Grandma Zao is like this. It is difficult for others to change her mind." Although Grandma Zao was kind and smiling at all times, her stubbornness was also obvious, and it was difficult for anyone to change her decision. After she finished speaking, she hurried to Grandma Zao's side, picked up an iron bucket, and began to help feed the small animals. "Oh, put it down quickly," Grandma Zao said in a hoarse voice with an anxious look on her face. "You kid, just stay by the side. Zio Wang and I will finish feeding them soon." "Grandma Zao, I'm here now. How can I just stand by and watch?" Wen Jiu ignored her obstruction and continued to feed the small animals. The cats and dogs in front of them seemed to be starving, burying their heads in the trough and eating hard, without even looking up to look at them. Grandma Zao wanted to stop Wen Jiu from feeding, but she heard Wang Nan shouting, "Grandma, the dog food here is not enough. I will go to the warehouse to get some more." Okay, you go," Grandma Zao answered casually. However, after being interrupted by Wang Nan, all the iron buckets around her were taken away. Wen Jiu and Kyoshi each carried a large iron bucket. They walked back and forth beside the trough. When they found that there were small animals without food, they carried the iron bucket and poured it into the trough. Grandma Zhao couldn't chase them because of her inconvenient legs and feet, so she could only watch them feed all the small animals that should be fed. You two children are really, alas. She sighed helplessly. After they fed all the animals, they really stopped making noises and all huddled down in the cotton or straw piles, as if they were full and wanted to rest. So Grandma Zhao took them out of the shack and went to her small house. Grandma, how many stray animals have you taken in now? Wen Jiu took a sip from the cup, and the warm water brought her a lot of warmth. Because Grandma Zhao was not mobile, Zikingayu took the initiative to help with the work. At this moment, he didn't look like a spoiled young master from a wealthy family at all. He carried a kettle and poured a cup of hot water for everyone and took the initiative to clean the house. There are more than 200 cats and dogs in total, said Grandma Zhao, looking at Zikingayu who was working with great appreciation. This kid is great. He is very diligent and quick. He must have worked a lot at home, right? Kyoshi and Wen Jiu almost laughed out loud when they heard this. How could Zikingayu work at home? He only worked in front of them. But Wen Jiu quickly got back to the topic. Grandma Zhao, more than 200 are too many. Didn't the Animal Management Bureau give you a solution? You can't keep them like this forever. Grandma Zhao's scrapyard was about to close down, and she didn't know how long she could keep these stray animals. Alas, the Animal Management Bureau said they would solve the problem as soon as possible. Grandma Zhao was actually a little distressed. On the one hand, she wanted to save these stray animals and prevent them from suffering outside. But on the other hand, she had to accept the reality that she didn't have much savings. Because she was single, most of the star coins she earned were donated, and she didn't save much in these years. But it's not a good idea to keep these stray animals for a long time. The Animal Management Bureau is already overwhelmed. Wang Nan spoke directly, saying everything he wanted to say. Grandma Zhao, you can't keep them forever. You have to know that your financial conditions are limited. He persuaded Grandma Zhao earnestly and winked at Wen Jiu from time to time, hoping that the other party would help him persuade. Today's second update has been successfully delivered. Thank you for your support and love. Because I'm too busy today, the third update will be delayed. As an apology, a fourth update will be added. ORZ. Chapter 384 Stray Animals 3. However, Grandma Zhao was still very stubborn and refused to agree. After being persuaded, she became a little impatient and turned into the bedroom and locked the door. This made Wang Nan, Wen Jiu and others feel a little embarrassed. Wen Jiu later went to knock on the door and talk for a while, but Grandma Zhao ignored her. So she had to leave the New Year's goods she brought and said that she would come to see Grandma Zhao again tomorrow. At this time, it was already the evening business time of Wen Jiu restaurant, but after saying goodbye to Wang Nan, Wen Jiu and others did not return to Wen Jiu restaurant to do business, but went to the Animal Management Bureau to inquire about the situation. She always thought it was strange that so many stray animals suddenly appeared, but it was impossible that all these stray animals were the same as Chujian, right? Wen Jiu thought about it and glanced at Chujian. Are they all the same kind as you? I think you have that delusion. Chujian's mouth twitched when asked. Most of them are kittens and puppies of 2 or 3 months old, and the rest are old or disabled. Even if they change, they can't become like that. Not to mention that those people want those with intact limbs and in their teenage years. He was really speechless about Wen Jiu's idea, but he couldn't blame him for thinking too much, even though he had thought about this question for a long time. But after he observed the stray animals in the whole shack, he gave up the idea. Because those animals were either still in their infancy, or they were old or disabled, and they didn't meet the selection criteria of those people at all. So although he thought this matter was really strange, he didn't think about it any further. What are you talking about? The seating arrangement of the floating bus is similar to that of modern buses, so Kyoshi and Zikingayu sat behind Wen Jiu and Chujian. But the conversation between Wen Jiu and Chu Jian was so subtle that the two people sitting in the back couldn't hear what they were saying at all. We are talking about what to eat when we go back tonight. Ziqingyu, do you want to eat anything? Wen Jiu hadn't found enough clues to confirm his thoughts, so he simply changed the subject, thinking that everyone could relax a little. Ziqingyu and Kyoshi became excited when they talked about food. They clamored for meat and new dishes they had never eaten before. They kept arguing until they got off the bus, but they finally got Wen Jiu to agree to cook new dishes for them. Then the four of them walked towards the direction of the Animal Management Bureau. The building of the Animal Management Bureau was very close to the floating bus, so they arrived at their destination not long after walking. Why are there so many people bringing animals? Kyoshi looked at the scene in front of her with some surprise. I see that in addition to cats and dogs, there are some other animals. The three people besides her also looked surprised, because the hall of the Animal Management Bureau was crowded, and everyone was either carrying a portable pet box, or holding an animal in their arms. It can be said that everyone had a small animal. Wen Jiu glanced around, and then walked towards a uniformed staff member. Sister, we want to adopt a pet. Where can I go to handle the procedures? When the staff member heard her words, a happy expression suddenly appeared on his face. It's great that you are willing to adopt a pet, and there are so many pets to choose from now. Please go to the window over there to handle the procedures. Wen Jiu certainly knew where to handle the procedures. She had brought Chu Jian, who was in cat form, here and went through the process once. Speaking of which, the chip injected at that time seemed to be still in Chu Jian's body, but this chip seemed to be unable to be removed at will, so neither she nor the other party proposed to find someone to remove the chip. While the staff's face was getting better, Wen Jiu asked a few questions that did not involve the confidential information of the Animal Management Bureau. However, the answer she got was similar to what Grandma Zhao said, that is, there have been many abandoned stray animals recently, and they currently suspect that they were abandoned by animal smugglers from intermediate planets. Although the Federation advocates adoption instead of purchase, it cannot stop those who want to buy precious breeds, so it is not uncommon to see pet shops with booming business. In addition to these real animals, there are also bionic robot cats and robot dogs. Many people are too lazy to feed and take care of pets, but want to keep them, so they will choose bionic robot cats or robot dogs. However, the prices of bionic robot cats and robot dogs have always been high, so most people still choose real animals. But some time ago, two low-priced bionic pets were launched on the market, which led to many people who were tired of raising real pets secretly abandoning them. Where there is demand, there is a market. Because these people want to abandon pets, but are afraid of being held accountable by the law, animal dealers who recycle pets at low prices have appeared. They say they are buying back these pets at a low price, but in fact they are helping the evil and abandoning them. They remove the chips and sell the pets that can be sold. Those that cannot be sold are smuggled through spacecraft and thrown directly to low-level planets or garbage planets. Anyway, no one can find out after the chips are removed. Even if they are found, they cannot be traced to them because they are not the owners of those pets. According to federal law, the original owners should be held accountable. These animal dealers are so hateful, and there are also those who raise pets but are irresponsible. They abandon living lives, not bionic machines made of a bunch of metal parts. Ziqingyu muttered indignantly. Although he was very afraid of those dogs, it did not mean that he wanted to see the dogs abandoned. But are the methods of those animal dealers so powerful? Can they abandon so many pets here without anyone noticing? Kyoshi still had doubts about this matter. The questions she raised were also what Wen Jiu wanted to ask, but unfortunately no one could help them answer them. Afterwards, the four of them observed the Animal Management Bureau for a while. Apart from the sudden increase in the number of abandoned animals, they could not find any other abnormalities. They could only leave here with doubts and return to Wen Jiu's home. They also went to the Donghu District shopping mall for a stroll, bought a lot of fresh ingredients in the supermarket, and bought a new mattress and 2 sets of bedding for the guest room. You can't believe it, my brother accepted it from this mall. When checking out, Zikingayu took out his exclusive membership card and saw that the bill on the electronic panel was instantly cut in half. This 50% discount is an exclusive discount given to me by my brother. He seemed to be showing off for a long time, but he did not reveal that this discount was actually given to Wen Jiu by Zizio. It was just that the other party was afraid that Wen Jiu would be embarrassed to accept it, so he made this exclusive membership to him, and then asked him to remember to talk about this matter inadvertently. However, Zizio misjudged his brother, and the other party would not help him to take credit. Although the third update today was delivered late, the author worked hard to squeeze out the fourth update. Dear little angels, please don't bother me for this reason. Hehe 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385 Spicy Hot Pot 1. Hey, isn't this Zio Jiu? Is it you, the chef classmate from window 18? Coincidentally, Wen Jiu and his friends just happened to meet Sister Chen and her daughter-in-law, Sun Ran, a teacher from the 3047 Academy, downstairs. When they met, they realized that the little boss that Sister Chen often talked about was the same person as the chef classmate that Sun Ran always talked about. Then let's go home and clean up first, and come over for dinner later. Sister Chen was originally in a low mood because Wen Jiu restaurant was not open tonight, but when she came back, she met the little boss, who also invited her and her daughter-in-law to have dinner at home, which made her smile, as if she had picked up money. Okay, Wen Jiu said with a polite smile, see you later. After she finished speaking, she closed the door and turned around to see Zikingayu and Kyoshi start gossiping in a low voice. Sister Chen's daughter-in-law is actually Teacher Sun. This world is too small. Zikingayu, you don't know anything smaller. Do you remember that Teacher Zhang who was suspended? He is also Sister Chen's son. The two were busy gossiping, so she threw the bedding she bought on the ground and then instructed Chu Jian to make the bed herself. She didn't want to buy the bedding so quickly because she wanted to punish Chu Jian to sleep on the sofa for a few more days. But as the saying goes, it's here. If you don't buy it now, you will have to buy it later. So she gritted her teeth and bought the cheapest ones. Anyway, these accounts will be recorded on Chu Jian's head, and the other party will not leave her until the money is paid back. Stop gossiping, you two. Come and help me wash the ingredients. Wen Jiu walked into the kitchen and tied an apron on herself. She wanted to ask Sister Chen about something when she went to the commercial district tomorrow, but she didn't expect to run into her by chance. This saved her some time. She thought she could take this opportunity to have dinner and ask about the stray animals in the business district. Although the temperature has gradually warmed up, it is not warm enough for Wen Jiu to abandon her fleece clothes. Strangely, everyone else went out in thin long sleeves, but she still felt freezing cold and had to wear autumn clothes with fleece sweaters. Therefore, when Zikingayu and Kyoshi were clamoring for new dishes, the first thing she thought of was the hot pot, but the hot pot ingredients took too long to fry. So she wanted to settle for the second best. After all, there are more hot things than just hot pot. There is also the spicy hot pot. If you cook spicy hot pot in modern times, many people choose to buy a piece of hot pot base and stir fry it, then stir fry and stew it with other ingredients. But in the Interstellar era, there is no hot pot base for her to buy, and even if there is, she dare not buy it. After all, she has tasted the dark cuisine of the Interstellar. Therefore, Wen Jiu had to stir fry the ingredients and side dishes by herself. Fortunately, she had made spicy hot pot several times before, so she remembered which spices and seasonings were needed. So she handed the task of handling the vegetarian dishes to Zikingayu, and she took a piece of black wined mountain pork and boiled it in the pot, and then found a piece of beef and put it on the chopping board and slashed the beef into slices as thin as cicada wings. She chose the belly part of the black wind mountain pork with fat and lean, which is commonly known as pork belly. When the pork belly turned from red to white, she took it out and drained the water and then cut it into thin slices that were convenient for frying. Zikingayu, you cut the lotus root slices too thick. After Wen Jiu had processed all the meat, she found that Zikingayu had cut the lotus root and potatoes, but the uneven thickness of the slices gave her a headache. Hearing this, Zikingayu replied somewhat embarrassedly, I tried my best to cut it, but this kitchen knife is too difficult to use. Just admit that your knife skills are not good. Why blame the kitchen knife for not working well? Kyoshi was still peeling garlic beside her and habitually said something to her. Forget it, it's the same after eating it. Wen Jiu knew that Zikingayu just wanted to help, so he didn't say anything to blame her. It was just that the following ingredients such as enoki mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms and black fungus were all handled by her personally. After Wen Jiu heated the oil in a pan, he added onions, ginger, garlic, chili and other seasonings to stir fry, then poured the cut pork belly in, and fried it until the surface was golden brown, before taking it out. The remaining lotus root slices, black fungus, potato slices and other ingredients also had to go through this process, because only in this way can the ingredients that have been fried once taste fragrant and crispy later. So she fried each ingredient until the surface was golden brown, and then reheated the oil in another pan to officially cook the spicy hot pot. Seeing that there was nothing to do in the kitchen, Zikingayu and Kyoshi consciously left the kitchen and walked towards the living room. Why is Brother Harry missing? And why can he eat without working? What do you know? Brother Harry is making the bed in the guest room. The two of them privately called Chujayara and Brother Harry. Wen Jiu knew about this, but only Chujayara didn't know that he had an extra nickname of Brother Harry. After discussing it in a low voice, they slipped out of the door of the guest room and quietly looked inside. Chujayara not only fixed the mattress, but also smoothed the sheets until there were no wrinkles. Then he put on the quilt very skillfully, and after putting it on, he folded the quilt into a square shape. Seeing this, Zikingayu couldn't help but sigh in a low voice. Wow, does he have obsessive compulsive disorder? My quilts are all scattered around, and they have never been folded so neatly. Then you are really a lazy guy. Kyoshi glanced at him, but I haven't folded the quilt so neatly, I just rolled it up at most. The two of them peeked here for a while, and they smelled a strong spicy smell. When Jiu was frying the ingredients she had just fried, she put the spices she had prepared into the pot, and in addition to the spices she should have, there were also several herbs that clear heat and reduce fire. These herbs can not only add fragrance, but also have the effect of not hurting the stomach, and not getting angry, so that they can eat as much as they want. Various ingredients and spices have a wonderful fusion under high temperature, and the strong and tempting spicy aroma permeates the air, successfully attracting three little greedy cats to look outside the kitchen. What is Wen Jiu cooking? Why does it smell so good? Looks like he's cooking a new dish. We'll know when it's out of the pot. Zikingayu almost called out Ij, but luckily he was smart enough and reacted quickly, so he quickly changed his words and fooled him. The three of them were watching at the kitchen door when they heard a clear and loud doorbell. Today's fourth update. The real fourth update has appeared. Hey, thanks again to every little angel for their support. Thank you everyone. 030. Chapter 386 Spicy Hot Pot 2. After Zhang Heling was temporarily suspended from the 3047 Academy, he took on the work of a private mercenary to earn money to support his family with his experience as a soldier in the military district. Therefore, only Sister Chen and Sun Ran were present for dinner this time, but this did not affect their enthusiasm and anticipation for eating. The two of them stared at the large pot of spicy hot pot in the middle of the dining table with their eyes shining like hungry wolves. Anyone could see that they were very greedy, and as long as Wen Jiu shouted that dinner was ready, they would start to scramble for it. What is Jiu doing in there? Why hasn't he come out yet? Sister Chen swallowed her saliva. She was very hungry just by smelling the spicy smell. At first, she was still in the mood to chat with these children, but later she just wanted to eat quickly, and she didn't even have the mood to gossip. It's almost time. I forgot to steam the rice just now. Zikingayu replied embarrassedly. Originally, he was responsible for steaming rice, but he was only thinking about handling the ingredients and forgot about steaming rice. Fortunately, when Jiu remembered in time and estimated that the rice would be ready soon, They waited patiently for a few more minutes and saw Wen Jiu and Kyoshi came out with rice, and Chu Jian followed closely with a big bowl of vegetable soup. Finally, it was time to eat, and Sister Chen couldn't wait to taste the spicy hot pot. She loved spicy food, but among the foods she had eaten before, except for the hot and sour noodles, which were really spicy and deeply loved her, the spiciness of other foods made her feel too irritating. However, this was mainly because of the comparison with hot and sour noodles. Before she tasted the deliciousness of hot and sour noodles, she still loved to eat spicy foods that stimulated the stomach. It's just that she didn't dare to eat more after she got older because she was afraid that eating too much would cause gastrointestinal diseases, and the pain was simply excruciating. Fortunately, with the appearance of hot and sour noodles, she only felt that she was very spicy every time she ate it, and there was no stomach discomfort at all, so she had to come to Wen Jiu restaurant every day to eat 2 bowls of hot and sour noodles to feel comfortable. The spicy hot pot in front of me is bright red in color. The impactful spicy and fresh aroma is not inferior to the hot and sour noodles. The overbearing spicy smell keeps drilling into people's noses. The pot is full of beef rolls, pork belly, lotus root slices, potato slices and other ingredients, each of which is what Sister Chen likes to eat. So she quickly picked up a full bowl and ate it first. As soon as the thinly sliced pork belly entered her mouth, a strong aroma occupied her tongue. The soft and tough pork belly was soaked in the aroma of chili. When chewing carefully, in addition to tasting spicy, there is also a strong fresh fragrance. The beef roll was only fried slightly and then taken out, so the surface was still slightly burnt and crispy. After rolling in the spicy hot pot, it was stained with bright red oil. You can feel the spicy flavor bursting in your mouth with a sip. Coupled with the tenderness of the beef itself, every bite is full of freshness and fragrance, making people feel extremely addicted to it. The crispy lotus root slices are also stained with a little red oil. The abundant juice and the spicy red oil combine in the mouth, and a hint of hot sweetness is instantly added to the fresh and spicy. Every ingredient perfectly brings out its own flavor in this spicy hot pot, while adding the spicy and strong fragrance brought by spices and chili. Everyone was so busy that they didn't have time to chat, and everyone just wanted to eat quietly. At the end of the meal, even the clear vegetable soup was divided up. The fragrant vegetable soup perfectly alleviated the spiciness brought by the spicy hot pot. After drinking it, there is a faint sweetness lingering on the tip of the tongue. This taste is really irresistible. Jiu, just go and rest on the side. How can I let you cook and clean up the dishes? Sister Chen rolled up her sleeves and started to clean up the table, not giving Wen Jiu a chance to speak. However, Wen Jiu had no intention of cleaning up. She just wanted to say that these things were done by Zikengai and Chu Jian. But Sister Chen refused to listen to anything and did not let others help clean up the dishes. She said that she would feel comfortable only if she cleaned up the table herself, so everyone else could only stare blankly. Seeing this, Sun Ran smiled embarrassedly and said, "Why don't we go over and sit down and chat for a while?" Old Zhang said that you guys live here before, and I bought some gifts specifically, but I just haven't found the time to visit. Because she hadn't officially obtained a marriage certificate with Zhang Heling, she only spent a brief time here during the spring festival, and then she was busy going back to her own home to celebrate the festival with her parents. When Zhang Heling told her about that, she only remembered that Yu Rumen and Wen Jiu lived here and didn't listen to other things seriously. Later, she asked Yu Rumen about this matter, and then she knew that Wen Jiu lived here by himself, and there was a female student from the 3047 college living with him. So she went to buy some gifts for the girls, thinking of finding an opportunity to visit. It was a coincidence that they met today. I knew Jiu and Shishi lived here, so I bought a few sets of new spring clothes for girls. Sun Ran didn't expect that there were 2 boys here. Could it be that these students didn't like living with their families? However, she just thought about this question and didn't really ask it. She handed over the 2 bags she brought, which contained new spring clothes from a girl's brand. The main reason was that she thought Wen Jiu should have everything here. Someone as careful as Yu Rumen would definitely buy what the family needed, so she could only give other things as gifts. After thinking about it, she remembered that Uruman said that Wen Jiu didn't like to buy clothes, so she thought that she could give some clothes. So she went to the mall and strolled around and carefully selected a few sets of spring clothes. "Thank you, teacher son." Wen Jiu took the bags with a smile. It happened that she had no other clothes to wear as spring clothes except school uniforms, and the clothes sent by Sunran at this time relieved her distress. Kyoshi was naturally delighted. She quickly thanked Sunran and used sweet words to make him smile like a flower. Chujayan and Zikingayu, who did not receive any gifts, did not complain either, because they were not at the scene at the time and were not seen by Zhang Heling. After that, the few of them chatted for a while. Wen Jiu also learned from Sunran that in addition to being busy with work in the academy, Uruman also had to go to the 11th military region to take care of things, but it was unknown what she was busy with. "Oh, Zhao Jiu, your cooking skills are really good." Sister Chen finally cleaned up the dining table and the kitchen. She sat on the sofa happily and thought about chatting with them. Hearing this, Wen Jiu replied with a faint smile, "Aunt Chen, I'm glad you like it. Do you remember the little black one I tuck away before? Today's first update is delivered on time. It's me. Give yourself a round of APPLAUSE=W equals. Thank you to every little angel for your support and love. Muah. 030. Chapter 387 Partner 1. Chujayan was drinking milk tea calmly. He had never drunk such a strange drink before, so he had to savor it carefully for a long time after taking a sip. As a result, he almost spit out the milk tea in his mouth when he suddenly heard Wen Jiu mention Ziohei. "Ziohei, I remember. Sister Chen naturally remembered Ziohei, the fierce and disobedient stray kitten. "Hey, didn't you take it away and adopt it? Why didn't I see Ziohei in your house?" Before she came, she was wondering how Wen Jiu tamed Ziohei. Although Ziohei was the most fierce cat in the commercial district, she still hoped that Ziohei could find a home. Hearing this, Wen Jiu pretended to sigh in distress. Ziohei was sick a few days ago. The doctor said that he had to stay in the hospital for a few days for observation and treatment. Sister Chen understood what she said, and she didn't mention Ziohei again. "Auntie Chen, do you remember when those stray animals appeared?" When she picked up Ziohei before, the other party only said that it was unclear when Ziohei appeared, and those stray animals seemed to appear out of thin air. But unlike what happened to Grandma Zhao, the people in the commercial district found the traces of the people who abandoned the small animals after checking the surveillance, which was not the case with Grandma Zhao, who could not find anyone after checking the surveillance. Sister Chen recalled it seriously and then spoke. "It seems to be 4 or 5 months ago. I'm old and I really can't remember things. If you want to know, you can ask the staff of the management department." Although she usually likes to join in the fun and listen to gossip, it is indeed difficult to remember many things at this age. In this case, Wen Jiu didn't ask anything more. Then she chatted with Sister Chen for a while until it was almost 9 o'clock in the evening, and then she left with Sunran. Zikingai wanted to go home to rest, but it was late outside and he was afraid of the dark, so Wen Jiu asked Kyoshi to send him off. So she and Chujayan were left in the big house. The two of them tacitly did not mention the stray animals and just went back to their respective rooms. Wen Jiu first washed up simply and then opened the Star Network to check the news. She had a lot of things to do tonight. In addition to communicating with Ziziu about the upcoming launch of the medicine, she also had to discuss cooperation with Mr. Ming of Wuiao Food. She had no time to think about stray animals. "Zio Wen Jiu, I've been waiting for you for a long time." Ziziu was lazily leaning on the bed. He seemed to have just taken a shower and was still wrapped in a white fluffy bathrobe. He and Wen Jiu chose to have a video call this time because he wanted to show the packaging of the medicine to the other party, but the most important thing was that he felt that face-to-face video was better than a cold phone call. "Please tell me what you want to say. Don't you want to show me the packaging of the medicine?" Wen Jiu didn't want to waste too much time with Ziziu. While listening to the other party's words, she tried to use the wood-based supernatural power to promote the growth of the pot of plants. She had planted seeds in the 2 pots of black soil that Zhu Wangming had sent before. Since then, she has observed when the seeds buried in the 2 pots of soil will germinate every day. She also tried to establish a connection with the seeds according to what the other party said, so that the seeds could be promoted to germinate. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't find the connection between the seeds. If she hadn't sensed that the 2 seeds were indeed alive, she would have suspected that Zhu Wangming had given her bad seeds. Here, this is the packaging I designed myself. Ziziu took a packaging box from the side. The packaging box was all black with circles of golden patterns. The brand logo of AOS Pharmaceuticals was printed in the middle. The golden icon was extremely conspicuous, and it was faintly glowing with a light golden light. This really made Wen Jiu speechless. She didn't understand why a packaging box had to be made so fancy, and it was a packaging box for medicine. However, she soon discovered that the most fancy thing was not the packaging box, but the medicine bottle inside. After Ziziu opened the packaging box, she slowly took out the medicine bottle inside. The body of the medicine bottle was transparent, but the neck and the opening were plated with bright gold edges, and there were many dazzling small gems inlaid on it. Red, green, yellow, and purple made Wen Jiu feel like he was going blind. Isn't it particularly eye-catching? Ziziu shook the potion bottle in her hand. The clear light blue liquid swayed gently in the bottle, attracting more attention than those fancy decorations. Wen Jiu held his forehead and complained, "Are you selling potions or potion bottles? Can you really sell them with such gorgeous packaging? The cost must be high, right? Little Wen Jiu, it seems that you have never bought potions on the market." Ziziu tutted a few times in a yin-yang tone, and then called up the page for selling potions in the gold panning shop. I saw that the packaging of those potions was more gorgeous than the other. The ordinary potion bottles were made to look like perfume bottles, which really made Wen Jiu feel incomprehensible. Aren't these potions used on the battlefield? Is it really convenient to use them in this way? She raised her doubts, and then she learned that the people in the military district were very rich and didn't care about the few star coins for purchasing potions. In addition, the military district also has its own medical research institute, and it may not need to buy potions from their pharmaceutical companies. As for the others who would come to buy potions, they were either private mercenaries or people from the black market. Anyway, none of them were short of money. Wen Jiu understood after hearing this. No wonder these potion bottles were made so fancy. It turned out that they wanted to squeeze out more star coins. If you do this, the cost must be very high, so the selling price will naturally go up, but it's not easy to sell potions in this way. After all, the price is too high and the potion is average. She knew that there were not many pharmaceutical companies in the Federation, because most military regions had their own pharmaceutical research institutes, and pharmaceutical companies only produced potions for battlefields, so the customer base that came to patronize was fixed there. In this way, business is actually quite difficult to do. After all, no matter how rich the mercenaries and people in the black market are, they will not be stupid enough to spend a high price on inferior products. Maybe she is not rich enough. Anyway, she will not spend money to buy such potions. Wen Jiu, you make sense. I have also considered changing the packaging to reduce costs, and then lowering the price to compete, but this method is too risky, and there is a saying that the first bird to stick its head out gets shot. We are OS Pharmaceuticals, only a small company on planet 3047. These medicines have to be transported and sold to various planets. It would be bad if those big companies think we have taken away their business and come to trouble us. I'm a person who likes to be safe and don't want to take such a big risk. The second update of the day has also been delivered by the little author. It's so fast. It's already 800,000 words ORZ. I feel that it will not be far from breaking 1 million words. So excited. Chapter 388 Partner 2. Wen Jiu laughed out loud after hearing this. How could she not know what kind of person Ziziu was? Although she didn't have much contact with him, she could see that he was quite ambitious. So she raised her lips and smiled. President Z, do you believe what you said? If I were you, I would definitely choose to be the first one to come forward. There is still a big gap in the pharmaceutical market. Everyone is concentrating on studying packaging to increase the price, but our medicine has been seriously improved. The efficacy of the medicine itself can be sold at a high price, and there is no need for these fancy packaging. And you also said that AOS Pharmaceuticals wants to open up the market to compete on other planets. If it still uses a conventional gorgeous packaging, it will definitely be difficult to open up the market and compete successfully. The more Zizio heard these words, the thicker his smile became. He knew that Wen Jiu had the same ideas as himself and was simply a natural partner. He thought that it would be best to change the packaging to normal packaging and then do marketing from this point to attract buyers. After all, when every pharmaceutical company launches a new drug, it is under the banner of improved drugs or innovative drugs. If he follows this conventional route, I'm afraid that this batch of drugs will not sell well. So he thought of changing the packaging while improving the drug and choosing the simplest and most plain packaging to reduce the packaging cost so as to achieve the purpose of lowering the price to attract buyers and open up the market. Then, after those buyers use their drugs, they will find that these drugs are indeed better than the same ones, and they will continue to come back to buy them to increase sales. Zio Wen Jiu, you really have the same philosophy as me. I really wish you were my sister, so that our family can make money together. Zizio was angry when he thought of his stinky brother. Why can't he be as smart as Wen Jiu? Haha, Wen Jiu rolled his eyes directly. How long will it take before it goes on the market? If you can change the packaging, change it quickly. Hearing this, Zizio took out another packaging box. This packaging box is much more normal than the previous black and gold packaging box. It uses the most plain off-white paper box. In addition to the brand logo of AOS Pharmaceuticals, it also has the name of the low-level physical potion in black. This makes Wen Jiu look much more pleasing to the eye, and the potion bottle he took out is also very normal, just a simple transparent test tube filled with light blue liquid. I didn't expect you really want to use this kind of packaging. I thought you would like the black and gold packaging I designed. Zizio played with the potion bottle in his hand. He really thought that Wen Jiu would like the black and gold packaging. After all, the other party was about to write the 3 words like money on his face. Fortunately, the other party did agree with his ideas and did not choose the kind of exaggerated and gorgeous packaging. Wen Jiu glanced at him coldly. I want to be the richest man in the Federation, not the local rich man in the Federation. And she wants to make big money, not small money. If she wants to make small money, she can sell potion formulas and recipes at will, or even consume more spiritual power to draw and sell talismans, and directly earn enough star coins in this life to squander. But she wanted to make a lot of money in an honest way, and didn't want to take shortcuts, or do anything crooked. Since we have the same opinion on packaging, I will send you the launch plan again. If you have any questions or suggestions, just let me know. I will directly choose the second one for packaging. In order to be on the safe side, Zizio had 2 packages of the same amount prepared in advance, just waiting for Wen Jiu to choose which one to use. Fortunately, the other party agreed with his opinion and chose to be the first to break the status quo. So he quickly sent a message to his assistant, saying that the second simple packaging would be used for this sale, and asked the factory to produce another batch of them urgently for stock. After all, he was still very optimistic about Wen Jiu's potion, and he believed that this batch of low-level physical recovery potions would definitely be a big hit. I've read the plan and I don't think there's anything that needs to be changed. Wen Jiu carefully browsed through the files sent by the other party. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up the video call first. When Zizio heard this, she immediately showed the same aggrieved expression as Zikingayu. You don't even want to chat with me for a while? We are partners. We need to chat more to cultivate tacit understanding. He thought this would make Wen Jiu speechless, but the other party just replied coldly, but I have more than one partner. Now, he is the one who is speechless. I see that you are fine, so I'll cut off the call. Wen Jiu was busy transforming the golden whip all night yesterday, and then he didn't get enough sleep today, so he was already very sleepy at this moment. She just wanted to solve all the problems quickly, and then get into bed and sleep. It's okay, but you don't. Zizio was hung up before he finished speaking. He was so angry that he grabbed the pillow and beat him up. He didn't know which hateful person had taken away his partner. However, what he didn't know was that another person was thinking the same thing. "Sorry to have kept you waiting. I was just talking to someone." Wen Jiu said a few polite words with a hint of apology. A loud and clear voice came from the light curtain panel, and Ming Yehan smiled slightly to show that he didn't mind. Because when Jiu said that it was not convenient for him to make a video call, they still used voice calls for their detailed discussion tonight. Ming Yehan first briefly explained his ideas, and then passed on the prepared cooperation plan and contract. While Wen Jiu was looking at the plan and the contract, he pondered over what the other party had just said. What does it mean to be talking to someone just now? Could it be that Gongzi Fake has also found other food companies to cooperate with? He finally encountered the treasure that knocked on his door, so he would never allow the treasure to be robbed. So after he had prepared his words, he asked in a very gentle tone, "Excuse me, Miss Ko and Gungan, I would like to ask if Ms. Gongzi Fake has found other partners? If so, please tell Ms. Gongzi Fake that I'm very optimistic about her snowflake crisps. I think in addition to cooperating on snowflake crisps, we can also cooperate on the production of other foods. In other words, I want to win the full cooperation of Ms. Gongzi Fake. I can guarantee the production quality of our Wuao food, and I can give Ms. Gongzi Fake a very high cooperation price." Wen Jiu was a little stunned by Ming Yehan's words. Why did the other party suddenly ask for his full cooperation? The third update of the day is also Delivered 030. Speaking of which, today is Valentine's Day. I wish you all a happy Valentine's Day. It seems a bit strange. I wish you all a happy Valentine's Day. If you have a partner, those who don't have a partner should also be happy alone. In short, I hope everyone can be happy. 030. Chapter 389 Investigating Sunbad AO1. However, when Jiu did not raise her doubts, she only calmly said that she would pass on the message to Gongzi Fake. After that, after she finished reading the plan and the contract, she made a few suggestions of her own. It was not until nearly 12 o'clock that the details of the cooperation on the snowflake crisps were discussed. Before hanging up the phone, she also mentioned that she hoped to get the revised plan and contract tomorrow because her snowflake crisp debt could not be delayed any longer, so she wanted to sign the contract as soon as possible and start production. Fortunately, the person in charge of Wuao Food understood her idea very well and said that he would definitely make changes tomorrow and strive to sign the contract. When Jiu thought that the matter was resolved and she could rest, but when she saw that there was still a red dot in the message list that had not been eliminated, as a person with mild obsessive compulsive disorder, it was really uncomfortable for this little red dot not to disappear. So she clicked on the message list to check. It was okay if she didn't look at it, but she was very energetic when she saw it. The customer mistakenly thought that Mr. Liu had taken her baby away and said that he would definitely find a way to help her get the baby back. But this baby is not that baby. She was talking about the cotton doll, but the other party thought it was a living baby. This misunderstanding was really embarrassing, so she quickly sent a message to explain, but the other party was not online and did not reply to her. However, when Jiu felt that she had explained it clearly and it should not cause too much problem. In addition, she was really sleepy, so she fell asleep after turning off the light curtain panel. At this time, on the other side, Ming Yu had no time to care about the vibration of the wisdom ring. He was busy repairing and modifying the mecha in the workshop. After several missions outside, his mecha shell had already suffered a lot of wear and tear, and some internal parts also needed to be replaced. In addition, the energy core of the mecha still needed to be charged, so he was immersed in the repair and modification, and did not hear the doorbell of the workshop ring at all. It was not until the door of the workshop slowly opened and cast a dazzling light that Ming came back to his senses and looked at the door. In order to prevent others from disturbing him while he was modifying the mecha, he specially set up a double lock for iris verification and fingerprint verification. Therefore, the only person who can enter is himself. So who is the person who appears here at this time? Good evening, Master Ming. It's so late that you are still modifying the mecha. It's really hard. Jin Shai and Feng walked in swaggeringly, followed by soldiers from the 1st Military District and teachers from the Imperial Capital Military Academy. Seeing this, Ming Yu frowned and said impatiently, "Who allowed you to break into my workshop without permission? Don't you know that it is forbidden to disturb the mecha master when he is working?" "Jin, I don't want to disturb Master Ming either." Jin Shai and Feng smiled hypocritically, but this time the head of the family gave the order, and I have to follow it. Although the Ming family is a big family in the Imperial Capital Star, it is far less powerful than the Lu family. After all, the head of the Lu family, Wen Jiu, is a district chief of the 1st Military District and the current head of the Federation. Even if Ming Yu has a bad temper, he knows that he can't lose his temper at this time. So he remained calm and asked in a cold voice, "Mr. Jin, just tell me what you want to say. Don't waste my time." "Thank you." Seeing that the target person was very cooperative, Jin Shai and Feng raised his hand and signaled that the teachers of the Imperial Capital Military Academy could leave first. He didn't want to alarm the school. After all, it was said that the school should try not to publicize the matter and keep everything confidential. But Ming Jiu was the precious son of the Ming family after all. If he took him away without saying anything, I'm afraid that the crazy woman of the Ming family would make a fuss and destroy him. Although he was working for the Lu family, he still had to be more cautious. Therefore, he specially found a few familiar teachers, thinking that they could help do ideological work, so as not to alarm Ming Jiu's family members if he was unwilling to cooperate. Unexpectedly, the other party was so cooperative and not as difficult to deal with as rumored. "It's not a big deal. It's just that the head of the family asked me to ask a few questions." Jin Shai and Feng only moved his fingers slightly, and the people behind him immediately pulled a chair over for him to sit down. Seeing this, Ming Jiu felt even more unhappy. Not to mention that these people broke into his workshop without permission. They also acted as if they were at home. "I heard that Master Ming has been superstitious about metaphysics recently. Did he meet some powerful person?" Jin Shai and Feng finished his words with a smile, and then half closed his eyes to observe Ming Jiu's expression. "What does it have to do with you? Did Chief Lu ask you to come here just to inquire about my personal affairs?" Ming Jiu sneered, and then continued to study the parts on his operating table, not taking Jin Shai and Feng and others seriously at all. However, this was just his superficial appearance. In fact, he had been thinking about how to pass on the message. Jin Shai and Feng was a well-known lackey of the Lu family. It would definitely not be a good thing if he was found by the other party. Therefore, he was very worried about whether he would implicate his family, but he did not do anything that was detrimental to the Imperial Capital Star or the 1st Military Region. Why would Jin Shai and Feng find him and say that it was an order from the head of the Lu family? Hearing this, Jin Shai and Feng just curled his lips and stretched out his hand and saw that his wisdom ring instantly popped out the light curtain panel, and the panel flew directly in front of Ming Jiu. "Excuse me, Master Ming, do you know this person?" Ming Yu raised his head impatiently and saw the image of Sun Badao on the light screen panel. But he tried his best to control his emotions and said coldly, "I know him. He is just a swindler who cheated me of money. Is Mr. Jin here to help me fight for justice? In fact, he only cheated me of a small amount of money. There is no need to alarm Chief Lu for such a small matter, right?" He didn't know where the other party found out about Sun Badao. Could it be that Lu Yan really reported the matter of Sun Badao? But he didn't think Lu Yan would be such a person. "So this gentleman also cheated your money?" Jin Shai and Feng's tone was a bit ambiguous. "Then we have to pay more attention to it." Ming Yu was a little confused after hearing this. What does it mean to cheat his money? Did Lu Yan really report Sun Badao? And he used the excuse that the other party cheated money. But Sun Badao is not a liar. The other party is a half-immortal with real skills. Then you are too idle. There are so many scammers who cheat people out of money. Can you handle them all? Besides, I'm not short of money. I will just take this as a lesson learned. Why do I need you to enforce the law against scammers? Ming Jiu looked nonchalant, like a dandy who spent money lavishly. After he finished speaking, he buried his head in fiddling with the parts in his hand, and no longer looked at the image on the light screen panel. This reaction made Jin Shai and Feng a little embarrassed. He thought Ming Yu was so sensible that he knew how to cooperate, but he didn't expect that the other party was still so difficult to deal with. He seriously considered whether to take the person away. After all, many stubborn people would soon spit out everything if they were interrogated at the base. The first update of the day is delivered by the little author. It's on time. Thank you all for your support. 030. Chapter 390, Investigating Sun Badao 2. Ming Yu was the young master of the Ming family after all, so he couldn't just take him away if he wanted to, so he had to think carefully before he could do it. Do you want to ask more questions? If you don't have anything else to ask, just leave quickly. Can't you see I'm busy with the mecha? Seeing that Jinchai and Feng had been silent, Ming Yu wanted to get rid of these people quickly to avoid making more mistakes. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Jinchai and Feng stood up and walked towards him. Young Master Ming, as long as you tell me the information about Sun Badao, I will take them away immediately. This made Ming Yu laugh. He couldn't help but laugh and asked back, Mr. Jin, as far as I know, you can check the Star Network information through the back end, so why do you need to get information from me? Could it be that our Star Network backend is broken, so you have to come to me in person and ask for information after a fight with me to the extreme? The Star Network is originally a high-tech product developed by the Federation, so the main control backend is in the Federation base, and any high-level member of the Federation can obtain the authority to open the backend to query information. If Lu Wen, who really wants to find out the true identity of Sun Badao and what Sun Badao did in the Star Network world, he can find out everything directly through the backend, and there is no need to come to him to get information. Ming Yu felt a lot more relaxed when he thought about it, and he became even more impatient when he looked at Jinchai and Feng again. I'm busy modifying the mecha. If you have nothing else to do, leave quickly. Don't delay me from improving my skills. I'm going to be a great mecha master. If you ruin my good deeds, I promise to make you pay for it. In fact, Ming Yu is not the kind of dandy who likes to bully others. It's just that his mother told him to act more flamboyantly, so that those people would not think he is easy to bully. Anyway, he has the Ming family to back him up. Hearing this, Jinchai and Feng was stunned for a moment, and then he forced a smile to respond. Young Master Ming is indeed as unruly as the rumors say, but the head of the family told me to make sure to find out about this person. Of course, this matter must be done properly. I think it's not enough to just look at the background information, so I came to the Imperial Capital Military Academy to find you to learn more. His words were considered to put pressure on Ming Yu again. Seeing that the atmosphere became stiff again, suddenly a clear and melodious female voice sounded in the workshop. Jinchai and Feng, you are so bold, you dare to threaten my son. Ming Yu was amused when he heard the voice and quickly fiddled with his hands under the operating table. His light screen panel flew to the side, and a woman wearing black framed glasses was clearly displayed on it. The woman was wearing a grey women's suit, with wine red curly hair draped over her shoulders, and her lips painted with bright lipstick were coldly curled. Seeing this scene, Jinchai and Feng quickly bent down slightly and said, Mr. Ming, I haven't seen you for a long time. I dare not threaten the young Master Ming. I'm just here to investigate under the order of Mr. Lu, and I hope that the young Master Ming can cooperate. He didn't expect Ming Yu to go to Mingwan Rao. You know, Mingwan Rao is not as gentle as her name, but more like a rose covered with thorns. It can be said that no one in the Imperial Capital Star dares to provoke her easily. It's not that the Ming family is so powerful. After all, no matter how powerful the Ming family is, it is not as powerful as a Lu family. But Mingwan Rao is a hot-tempered person. When she gets angry, she dares to do anything. Take the incident of Ming Yihan, the eldest son of the Ming family, for example. She cleaned up the Ming family like crazy. It is said that after finding the culprit, she not only sent him to the federal court for punishment, but also went to the garbage planet, where the man was exiled privately, to deal with him secretly. This is why Jinchai and Feng did not want to alarm the Ming family. He did not choose to have someone take Ming Yu back to the base for questioning, but came to the Imperial Capital Military Academy in person to communicate with him. Are you, a lackey of the Lu family, qualified to talk to me? Take your people away from my son's workshop within 3 minutes, otherwise I will drive the mecha to flatten your house. Ming Wanrao played with the mecha starter in her hand. She raised her chin proudly, leaving no room for Jinchai and Feng to negotiate. Although she was already over 40 years old, she was well maintained and did not look old at all, and she had a more mature charm than when she was young. It stands to reason that the older a person gets, the gentler they look, but she is still as domineering as when she was young, making it difficult for people to refute her. This really made Jinchai and Feng very unhappy, but he didn't dare and couldn't say anything. After all, Ming Wanrao was a serious military soldier when she was young, and she once successfully sat on the position of general of the 1st Military Region with her real ability. She was not joking with Jinchai and Feng, but she really had the ability and dared to do so. Sorry, Master Ming, I came here on orders. If Chief Lu knew about you. Jinchai and Feng was still unwilling to use Lu Wenhu to suppress Ming Wanrao. Unexpectedly, the other party sneered and said, if you know, then you know. Let's see who is faster in complaining, or my cannon is faster. There is only 1 minute left. If you don't take these people away, you have to think about where to move to your new home. Jinchai and Feng gritted his teeth and looked at the light screen panel. Ming Wanrao in the picture didn't even bother to look at him and even raised her fingers to admire her manicure. After all, the Jin family is only a subsidiary of the Lu family. Although the Ming family cannot be said to be on par with the Lu family, it is at least a well-known family in the imperial capital Star. So he turned around and suppressed his anger, since the head of the Ming family does not want the young master to cooperate. Don't blame me for reporting to the head of Lu. After that, he hurriedly left with the others. Before leaving, he did not forget to turn back and glare at Ming Yu, but the other party made a face without any fear, which made him so angry that he wanted to curse on the spot. After Jinchai and Feng left the workshop, Ming Yu quickly reset and strengthened the password, fearing that someone would break in and cause trouble for him again. Baby, why did that dog come to bite you? Ming Wanrao's domineering aura just now was much lighter. At this time, she looked like a gentle mother who cared about her son. Ah, Mom, didn't you hear it just now? Ming Yu raised his head after setting the password. He came to me to ask about Mr. Sun, the god who told my brother's fortune. He just turned up the lights while studying the parts, and the strong light successfully confused Jinchai and Feng's vision. Then he found the right time to open the light screen panel and made a video call to Ming Wanrao. Fortunately, his mother didn't have a meeting at the company tonight, otherwise he really didn't know where to find someone to save him. Today's second update is also delivered. Thank you all again. 030. Chapter 391 A Man's Sad Moment 1. What does Jinchai and Feng want to find Mr. Sun for? Ming Wanrao certainly remembered the powerful Mr. Sun, who not only helped her find the person who assassinated Ming Yihan, but also gave her a talisman to successfully save Ming Yu's life. She actually wanted to thank Mr. Sun in person, but as a patriarch of the Ming family, she had to manage the Ming family's business in addition to dealing with family affairs. Therefore, she was too busy to spare time, so she could only ask Ming Yu to take care of the other party's business. Moreover, she originally wanted to give some gifts or a big red envelope and let Ming Yu pass it to Mr. Sun to express her gratitude. But she heard Ming Yu say that the other party was a semi-immortal and he probably wouldn't care about these external things, so she let Ming Yu embroider a banner to show his gratitude. I don't know, but I always feel that it is related to Lu Yan. Ming Yu was no longer busy modifying the mecha at this moment. He was seriously thinking about how to deal with Sun Badao's matter. Hearing this, Ming Wanrao's beautiful eyes turned. Lu Yan is also Mr. Sun's guest? He doesn't look like someone who would believe these things. As they chatted, she suddenly remembered something. She remembered that her assistant had come to report 2 days ago. It was said that after Lu Yan completed the mission on Saturn, he did not return to the Imperial Capital Military Academy, but went to the base of the 1st Military Region to attend a meeting, apparently to discuss new regulations on low-level planets. In short, she did not hear any news about finding Mr. Sun, but it did not rule out that this was a task that Lu Wenhu privately issued to Jinchai and Feng. Lu Yan doesn't believe in Mr. Sun, Mingyu recalled seriously, but he seems to be quite interested in Mr. Sun. He not only added Mr. Sun's Star Network friends, but also snatched Mr. Sun's baby. This news really shocked Mingwan Rao. She felt that Lu Yan was not the kind of person who would snatch a baby. And the most important thing is, why would the other party snatch someone else's baby? But she did not show her surprise, but patiently told him, "Baby, don't talk nonsense about this matter. Mom will send someone to investigate it later." Finally, she chatted with Mingyu for a while, and hung up the video call after repeated instructions. Lu Yan didn't know that he was inexplicably charged with snatching a baby. He sat quietly in the room, and stared at the moon in a daze. A full moon exuded bright moonlight, hanging high in the quiet night sky, but not long after, a thick black came, and covered it tightly. It is said that, if people stick to something for more than 21 days, it will become a habit. Perhaps listening to a boring little story, before going to bed, has become his habit. He was feeling sad, because he lost his friend, but he had long since lost the feeling of sadness and loss, so he just felt a little empty in his heart. The sound of leather shoes colliding with the floor came, and a tall man in a white military uniform walked in. Lu Yan, the head of the family, has temporarily withdrawn the order for a thorough investigation. I will arrange for someone to send you back to the Imperial Capital Military Academy later. This is a special smart ring developed by the Research Institute. Lucy I didn't want to say it so officially, but they were still in the base of the 1st Military District, and there were hidden cameras and secret recorders everywhere. He couldn't say too much about his brother. Hearing this, Lu Yan didn't show any dissatisfaction, but nodded indifferently. The new smart ring is different from the one you used before. It will record your every move in the Star Network world in real time. Father doesn't mean to monitor you, but you know you are. At this point, Lucy I himself felt that he couldn't continue. Even if Lu Yan is the trump card of the 1st Military District, just because he is born with extremely high mental power and has multiple abilities, does he deserve to be monitored and his every move can't even go to the Star Network world freely? But he can't disobey his father's orders, and as a member of the Lu family, he has to take his own responsibilities. So he took a deep breath and continued, "Forget it. It's enough for you to know your identity, and don't associate with unnecessary people in the future." He learned from the person in charge of the investigation that Lu Yan had been secretly communicating with a person named Sun Badao. This Sun Badao's identity is unknown, and he uses a virtual image. To check his identity, you have to enable the background permissions. Although half of the people will choose to use a virtual image in the Star Network world, they will never allow Lu Yan to interact with such an unknown person. In addition, they also investigated Sun Badao's deeds in the Star Network world. The other party seemed to be just an ordinary vendor who set up a stall, but what he sold were all deceptive things linked to metaphysics. What's even more outrageous is that many people actually praised him as a half-immortal. Many customers who patronized his business went to the management department of the Starlight Night Market to praise him, and many wanted to give him a banner or vote for the most popular stall owner. You have to know that this is the interstellar age. How can so many people believe in metaphysics? Sun Badao was able to successfully deceive so many people, and even deceive Lu Yan and Mingyu, which shows how profound his deception is. Put on this wisdom ring and bind your identity information. Lucy I handed over the small box in his hand. Father is also doing this for your own good. You are still young, and it is easy to be deceived. He was opposed to customizing a wisdom ring with monitoring for Lu Yan at first, but after he learned about Sun Badao, he changed his mind. After all, Lu Yan will only turn 17 in the second half of this year, and he is still in adolescence. If he is deceived by someone with ulterior motives, it will definitely have a huge impact on the 1st Military Region and the Lu family. Moreover, after he learned about Sun Badao, he immediately applied to his father for a thorough investigation of this person, in case the other party was sent by other military regions. Although his father did not agree to his application, he still acquiesced to his secret investigation of Sun Badao, but he did not allow him to open the background permission to view the information. Therefore, only a few people knew about the thorough investigation of Sun Badao, and he specially sent Jinshai and Feng to find Mingyu to inquire about the news. But Jin Qianfeng was rebuked by Ming Wanrao from the Ming family, and he didn't know what Ming Wanrao said to his father, which led to his father's immediate termination of the investigation into Sun Batao. "Well, can I leave now?" Lu Yan finally spoke the first words of the night. He had been sitting here quietly looking at the moon for a long time. Hearing this, Lu Xi nodded first and then said, "I have arranged a car for you to return to the Imperial Capital Military Academy. You can leave at any time." After he finished speaking, he saw Lu Yan stand up and walk slowly towards the door. The other party's expression was indifferent and alienated like an iceberg. He didn't have the kind of closeness he had with his relatives. Instead, he treated him like a stranger. This frustrated Lu Xi. He really wanted his younger brother to be happy, but at the same time he couldn't violate his duties, which made the relationship between the two brothers more and more stiff. He thought Lu Yan would not say another word, but he didn't expect that when the other party walked to his side, he quickly left a sentence that he couldn't understand, and then strode out of the lounge. My moon disappeared. Today's third update has been successfully delivered. Hehe 030. I originally wanted to write a Valentine's Day skit, but I felt that the two children didn't have much contact, so it suddenly seemed a bit awkward to write a Valentine's Day skit. I'll make up the skit when there are more emotional scenes later. ROZ. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392 Candide Horse 1. The full moon on one side was covered by dark clouds, and the rising sun on the other side brought light. The soft white sugar in the iron pot gradually melted, and a faint sweet smell filled the air. The warm sunlight slowly fell, making everything so peaceful and beautiful. Jiug, how long will it take? Zikingai was cleaning the cooking table at this time, but his attention was all focused on the small iron pot. Kyoshi also cast her eyes on the iron pot. While wiping the dishes, she asked softly, "I didn't expect that the white sugar would be so fragrant after being boiled. How long does it take to cook?" They had just finished the lunch business of Wen Jiu restaurant, and the original feeling of fatigue was all dispelled by the faint sweetness. Wen Jiu stopped stirring and turned the flame to the minimum. "It won't be long, don't worry." She asked Kyoshi to buy some hawthorns and strawberries before the spring festival, but she forgot about these fruits after buying them. It was not until she opened the refrigerator this morning to make breakfast that she opened the fresh keeping layer and found these forgotten fruits. However, these fruits looked like they had just been bought. I don't know if the refrigerator's preservation function was too powerful, whether it was hawthorn or strawberry. In short, there was no damage at all. So she thought she could still eat it and just took it to Wen Jiu restaurant to make a candied horse as a dessert. While the syrup was boiling, Wen Jiu washed the strawberries and hawthorns, removed the stems and cores, found a handful of high-temperature sterilized wooden sticks and quickly skewered them. Candied horse is a traditional snack that originated in ancient China and has been preserved and passed down to modern China. It can be seen everywhere in the streets and alleys. It's just that Wen Jiu didn't find any information about candied horse here. Even before she said she wanted to make candied horse, the other three people in Wen Jiu restaurant didn't know the existence of this snack, which made her feel a little regretful. "I've cleaned up the outside, can I go upstairs and take a nap?" Chu Jian came in lazily with a mop in his hand. He yawned sleepily, and his charming deep purple eyes were covered with a layer of water, which made him look charming and innocent. After making the bed last night, he thought he had a bed to sleep in, but he never expected that Wen Jiu would be so vindictive. He had been sleeping on the bed for less than 2 hours when he was dragged to the ground by the other party with vines. Wen Jiu also warned him that he was not allowed to go to bed and that he had to experience the pain of sleeping on the floor. If he didn't want to sleep on the floor of the guest room, he could sleep in the living room. In short, he was not allowed to go to bed. At that time, he was so angry that he almost wanted to use his supernatural power to fight with the other party, but he was eating and living on other people's houses now. If he fought, he would probably be driven out to sleep on the streets. So he silently endured it, hugged the quilt, and lay on the floor, and then slept all night. But as the saying goes, it is easy to go from frugality to luxury, but difficult to go from luxury to frugality. He had slept on a soft big bed for several days, and now he suddenly had to sleep on a cold and hard floor, which really made him unable to sleep well all night. Okay, here is the key to the second floor. You go up. Wen Jiu had just finished stringing all the fruits, and she took out the key from her apron, and threw it casually. The key drew a beautiful parabola in the air, and then fell steadily into Chu Jiayan's palm. Then I'm leaving, don't call me, if you have anything. Chu Jiayan walked out of the kitchen directly with a mop, and this scene made Zikingayu and Kaioshishi a little stunned. The two of them pricked up their ears until they heard the door on the second floor closed, and then they hurriedly asked in a low voice, has Brother Henry recovered his memory? Also, the way he took the key just now was kind of handsome. I think Brother Henry should have remembered it. He doesn't look as stupid as before. He was like a silly handsome guy before. Although the two of them deliberately lowered their voices, they were still very noisy. The main reason was that they cared too much about whether Chu Jiayan had recovered his memory, and they were also very curious about whether he had any memories of being a cat. If so, it would be too embarrassing for them. After all, they both chased Ziohei and used dried fish to lure Ziohei. Although they wanted to convince themselves not to confuse Ziohei with Chu Jiayan, the fact was that Ziohei was indeed Chu Jiayan in disguise. How should I put it? It can be considered recovered. When Jiu saw that the syrup in the pot had turned amber, and he estimated that the syrup was almost cooked, she picked up a chopstick and dipped it in the syrup, then quickly dipped the chopstick into cold water. The thick syrup immediately solidified in the cold water and turned into an ice crystal. Ziokingayu, take a bite and see if it is crispy or sticky. She handed the chopsticks to Ziokingayu, motioning her to take a bite and taste it. She mainly wanted to divert the attention of the two children, so that they would not be entangled in Chu Jiayan's memory recovery. Chu Jiayan's memory recovery was not at all. He did not lose his memory at all, and was just pretending to be stupid. Well, it's crispy. So sweet. Ziokingayu felt that the rock sugar in his mouth tasted a little crunchy, and although the taste was sweet, it was not greasy, which made him want to dip another chopstick in the syrup to try. However, after he finished tasting, when Jiu drove him aside, I saw the other party brush a thin layer of cooking oil on the smooth baking tray with a small brush, then picked up a wooden stick with fruit and rolled it into the iron pan. After rolling it repeatedly in the pan several times, she put the fruit stick covered with syrup on the baking tray, and then picked up the next fruit stick and repeated the previous action. Wow, these fruits are all shiny after being coated with syrup. Kaioshishi came to the baking tray with starry eyes. She saw that the rosy and shiny strawberries were like being coated with a layer of crystal, looking crystal clear, and with a faint luster, not to mention how beautiful and tempting they were. When can I eat it? It's not long since I finished lunch, but I'm hungry again now. Zikingayu was also looking at it expectantly. He really wanted to try what this candied horse tasted like. When Jiu said that he wanted to make candied horse, he was still wondering if it was a mixture of goods and rock sugar. This dark sounding method was too disgusting. I didn't expect that the other party only used a few ingredients to make such a beautiful dessert. But he didn't quite understand why it was named sugar-coated horse when it was clearly hawthorn and strawberry, so he expressed his doubts. When Jiu patiently explained it to him, and he realized that it was because the hawthorns looked like goods when strung together. In addition, the syrup on the surface solidified like ice, so it was named sugar-coated horse. Today's first update is delivered perfectly. Thank you all for your support. 030. PS. The method and name of sugar-coated horse are all referenced from Baidu Encyclopedia. And the second update last night was not written, but it was stuck in the system review ORZ, and it was not released to me until this morning. CAC. Chapter 393 Candied Horse 2. The creaking sound of sneakers on the wooden steps came faintly, causing Chu Jiayan, who had just fallen into a light sleep, to slowly open his eyes. Sometimes he really hated his sensitive hearing, especially when he wanted to fall asleep. When Jiu walked into the bedroom with a bunch of hawthorns in her hand, Whenever her mouth corners were raised, her sharp white fangs were always exposed, which looked cute and wild and playful. If someone who was not familiar with her met her, they would definitely think that she was a good-tempered little girl. Chu Jian was deceived by this appearance before, and always felt that he could control Wen Jiu to do things for him. In fact, not only did he fail to control Wen Jiu, but he was also controlled by the other party, and had to do all kinds of dirty and tiring work every day at his command. If he was a villain, then he must be the worst villain. Didn't I say not to look for me if you have something to do? Chu Jian sat up and sighed. If he had known earlier, he would have locked the door before going to bed. But it seemed useless for him to lock the door, because Wen Jiu had the key to his room and could open the door. I saw that you have been sleeping for almost an hour and you didn't wake up. Then I was afraid that the syrup of the candied horse would melt, so I thought of bringing it to you to try first. It's the same if you eat it before going to sleep. Wen Jiu handed over the candied horse with a smile. She originally planned to go to Grandma Zhao's place again in the afternoon, but Wang Nan sent a message saying that Grandma Zhao had gone out for something, so she changed her mind and thought of going tomorrow. Chu Jian was stunned for a moment when he saw this smile. He glanced at the string of red hawthorns and thought, this candied horse, isn't it poisonous? He has been very obedient these past 2 days. He cleans when he is asked to clean, and waits when he is asked to wait. He works hard, and does what Wen Jiu asks him to do. The other party shouldn't poison him, right? Why are you standing there? I won't poison you. Wen Jiu seemed to see through his thoughts. And if I want to poison you, I won't do it like this. It's too easy to be seen through. Please don't underestimate my means, okay? If you don't want to eat this candied horse, I'll take it away. The first half of the sentence made Chu Jian let down his guard a little, but the second half made him tense up. But Wen Jiu really wouldn't harm people in such a clumsy way, so he took the string of candied horse after thanking him. Each hawthorn was round, plump and shiny, and the crystal clear syrup wrapped around the hawthorn, as if it was wrapped in transparent ice crystals. He took a careful bite, and just put a hawthorn into his mouth. The crystal syrup had already solidified, and made a crisp sound in his mouth when he bit it. The rich sweetness gradually permeated every inch between his lips and teeth, making him feel strangely floating. After his teeth bit through the crispy sugar coating on the outside, the completely different sour and sweet taste of the hawthorn followed. The plump and round hawthorn burst out rich juice in his mouth, and the sour and sweet taste instantly swept his taste buds, blending with the previous rich and sweet sugar coating. The sour and sweet taste is just right, not too sweet, but also makes people feel a sense of pleasure. He actually doesn't like sweets, but this sour and sweet taste really makes him a little reluctant. By the way, why didn't Sister Chen recognize you when we had dinner that day? While Chu Jian was immersed in the deliciousness of the candied horse, Wen Jiu raised the question in his heart. She knew that Sun Ran didn't know Chu Jian at all. Once when he came to the cafeteria to get food, he chatted with other teachers and mentioned that she was a new teacher who had just joined the company at the beginning of last year. But it was a bit strange that Sister Chen didn't recognize Chu Jian. It stands to reason that people will not be too different from when they grow up, but why didn't Sister Chen recognize Chu Jian? Maybe it's because I'm not the same as before. Chu Jian shrugged nonchalantly. Didn't you search for my wanted poster on the Star Network? You'll know if you take a look. Hearing this, Wen Jiu opened the light screen panel and searched for the wanted poster. She just glanced at the photo at the time and didn't seriously observe the difference between the photo and Chu Jian in person. Now she found that there was indeed a big difference. The photo on the wanted poster seemed to be taken when the other party was 12 or 13 years old. At that time, Chu Jian smiled brightly, and his eyebrows and eyes were full of joy. The whole person was not as gloomy as he is now. His face still had the baby fat of his youth, and because his facial features had not yet fully developed, they were far less outstanding than they are now, and his skin color was much darker than it is now. Now he rarely smiles, and always has a gloomy face and a cold expression, looking at everyone with full vigilance and ferocity. Perhaps because of the previous training and the subsequent running around, his face is now much thinner and has a few shallow red marks, adding a sense of danger to his cold expression. Even if you put the photo and the real person together for comparison, you have to observe carefully and check them repeatedly several times before you can find the similarities in their appearance. After all, the former is a sunny and lively naughty boy, while the latter is a cold young man who has experienced hardships. Both their temperament and the feeling they give are completely different. In addition, Wen Jiu forced Chu Jian to wear eye color lenses every day, so the only thing he has in common with his former self is his hair color. It's strange. Didn't you run away when you were 15? Why did you put the photo of you just entering school as a wanted poster? Wen Jiu thought that if the military district wanted to arrest someone, they should definitely use a recent photo. This photo is too old. Can we really catch Chu Jian with this photo? Chu Jian swallowed a hawthorn and sneered. Because I changed later, how dare they use those photos to issue a wanted order? They can only find a few normal photos that have been preserved. He said it lightly, as if those things had not affected him at all. I understand. So your change is to grow ears and a tail? Wen Jiu found an opportunity in his words. She felt that if she took this opportunity to ask more questions, she should be able to get more of what she wanted to know. Chu Jian was silent for a moment and then slowly nodded in acknowledgement. His initial change was actually very similar to Wen Jiu's, but he did not grow fangs. But later, as time went on, and those people used drugs to stimulate him, he suddenly had a pair of cat ears and a tail. At that time, he brainwashed himself madly that all this was fake, but the tingling sensation of touching the cat's ears and the strange feeling of the tail shaking were real, which forced him to accept the reality that he was no longer a pure human. Today's second update is also delivered. Thanks again to every little angel for their support. I wish you all a happy Lantern Festival. Although it seems that the Lantern Festival has passed ORZ. Chapter 394. This mall is contracted by U1. Wen Jiu did not ask about the experiment again, but was curious about how Chu Jian made the cat ears and tail appear and disappear freely. I can't explain it either. I just learned it after a long time. Besides, you are not at the stage of growing ears and tail yet. Why ask so many questions? What do you mean by showing you? I suggest you lie on the bed and dream now. This topic was originally quite serious, and the discussion was only about how he controlled the cat ears and tail. As a result, Wen Jiu suddenly asked him to show the appearance and disappearance of cat ears. It would be better if he could add the shaking tail. Show it. I don't have much experience and want to see more. Wen Jiu held her head with both hands and leaned back against the head of the bed. She was really curious about Chu Jian's cat ears and tail. She didn't have them herself, but she couldn't say she didn't have them. Her ears appeared briefly for a while, and then disappeared inexplicably. In short, they appeared very suddenly, and disappeared very suddenly. Chu Jian took several deep breaths to calm himself down. He was afraid that he would press Wen Jiu on the bed and beat him. How can this kid be so young, and talk so rudely? It's really strange. After he regained his composure, he said, I can't show you. My cat ears and tail will affect my mind once they appear. That's why I attacked you that night. He really didn't lie to Wen Jiu. After all, the appearance of the cat ears and tail meant that the beast in his body had taken over, which would naturally affect his mind. Therefore, he had to force himself to stay awake every time to avoid being affected by the beast and causing serious consequences. Just like in the college competition that year. Well, is that so? Wen Jiu stared at him without blinking. Then forget it. I'm afraid you'll smash my store. Although she really wanted to see Chu Jian's cat ears and tail again, if the other party went crazy and smashed the store, wouldn't she be at a loss? So she asked a few more questions about the changes before getting out of bed and leaving Chu Jian's bedroom. However, Wen Jiu stopped when she reached the door of the bedroom, then turned around and asked, do you want to consider dyeing your hair? Since you have changed your pupil color with eye color filters, why not change your hair color as well? She mainly thought that, although Chu Jian was very different from before, some acquaintances might be suspicious because of his hair color. Wearing a hat and a mask every day would attract attention, so it would be better to dye his hair and meet people openly. Then I can buy him some cheap cosmetics. With a little makeup, he will be more different from the young Chu Jiaran before. The only problem is that Wen Jiu doesn't know how to put on makeup, so Chu Jiaran has to do it himself. Chu Jiaran was speechless after listening to her advice. Can I choose to continue wearing a hat? It's okay to dye my hair, but you also want me to put on makeup. Am I a toy doll you raise? Yes. Wen Jiu answered without hesitation. Her matter-of-fact attitude made Chu Jiaran fall into silence. Because he is indeed being raised by the other party now, he really has no say in how to better hide this aspect. Seeing Chu Jiaran lost in thought, Wen Jiu added a few words to persuade her. Sister Chen asked me about you yesterday. She said you looked familiar to her and wanted to know which district you were from before. I said you were my distant relative. You lived in another city before and came to see me a few days ago. But I think it's not good for you to cover up with a hat and a mask. We have to disguise ourselves seriously. The more she talked, the more Chu Jiaran felt that it made sense. In the end, she agreed to dye her hair and learn makeup. Then it's settled. I'll take you to dye your hair later. Keep a record of the account so you can pay me back. Wen Jiu closed the bedroom door after he finished speaking, leaving Chu Jiaran in a daze. Wasn't it the other party who suggested dyeing hair? How did he owe another debt? Debts are added to debts. When will he be able to leave? Wen Jiu always keeps his word. After the Wen Jiu restaurant closed for the day, she clicked on the light screen panel to search for the nearest barbershop on it. But she quickly closed the light screen panel and then pulled Chu Jiaran to her front and asked him to squat down. With your hair length, one box should be enough. It feels a bit wasteful to buy 2 boxes. She pulled Chu Jiaran's hair and talked to herself, which made others a little confused. Kyoshi, who was standing nearby and watching, couldn't help asking, Jiu, aren't you going to take Chuja to dye his hair? What do you mean by 1 box or 2 boxes? Oh, I saw that the price of hair dye in the barber shop is quite expensive. I thought about going to the small supermarket to buy a box of hair dye and dye it for him at home. Wen Jiu is very experienced in saving money. She will not spend unnecessary star coins if she can. She is naturally reluctant to spend star coins on unnecessary consumption such as dyeing hair. What? You dye it for me? Chu Jiaran raised his head suddenly and looked at her in disbelief. Hearing this, Wen Jiu nodded as a matter of course. Yes, the cheapest hair dye at the barber shop costs nearly 1,000 star coins, and the cheapest hair dye I bought is only more than 100 star coins. Anyway, it's a happy decision. Let's close the shop now and go home. When the time comes, you can choose a color you like in the community supermarket, and I will dye it for you. After saying that, she went to turn off the power of Wen Jiu restaurant, then pulled Kyoshi and walked to the door. Because her home is far away, Zikingai leaves a little earlier every day, so now there are only 3 of them. Although Chu Jiaran refuted many times on the way home, after returning to Donghu Garden, he was forced to choose a box of black hair dye to take home. Put on that towel first, I will come to dye it for you. After reading the instructions, Wen Jiu carefully read the instructions and then began to dye your hair under Chu Jiaran's worry and trembling. Although she accidentally knocked over the bottle of hair dye and accidentally dyed Chu Jiaran's forehead, the final result was still quite good. Chu Jiaran's dark red wolf tail hair successfully became as black and shiny as thick ink after being baptized by black hair dye. It's just that Wen Jiu's skills are still a bit lacking, resulting in a few dark red hairs not being dyed, but as long as the light is not too bright and you don't look carefully, you still can't see those tufts of red hair. Not bad, not bad. There's just a little hair dye left. How about I dye your eyebrows too? Wen Jiu was still wearing gloves and eager to try. She found that dyeing hair was quite fun. However, Chu Jiaran decisively refused her this time, saying that he would dye his eyebrows himself. After all, his forehead could not be stained by hair dye anymore. Otherwise everyone would say that his forehead was black when he walked out. So Wen Jiu could only leave the bathroom with a little disappointment. She took off her gloves and opened the light curtain panel, thinking that she could prepare to see the new contract and plan of Wu Yao food. In the end, she did not receive a new contract or plan, but an invitation certificate from Zizio. Today's third update has been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for your support. 030. Whisper, the pits are slowly being filled. Little angels, don't worry ORZ. Chapter 395. The small is contracted by you too. Zizio thought that Zeking guy would help him take credit, but when he asked about the membership card tonight, he found out that this stinky brother actually took all the credit for himself and did not mention all that he bought the shopping mall for Wen Jiu. In this case, he can't cover it up anymore. He wants to tell Wen Jiu in person that he contracted a shopping mall for him. Click on the link I sent you and bind your personal information. Then you will have an exclusive membership of the Donghu District Mall. In the future, you can get a 50% discount on anything you buy in the mall, and you can even use my name to keep the bill. Zizio thought that Wen Jiu would show an ecstatic expression after hearing what he said. Unexpectedly, the other party just clicked on the light screen panel and said, yeah, then I will just say your name in the future. Mr. Z has a big family and a lot of wealth, so you won't mind if I record an account of 40,000 or 50,000, right? You can count it, as long as you give me a few more potion formulas. Zizio took a deep breath and calmed down. He didn't expect Wen Jiu to really choose to record the account. If he had known, he wouldn't have said the second half of the sentence. However, Wen Jiu was just joking. Although she liked money and was very stingy, she would not do such a thing to take advantage of others. So she added, thank you for your membership first, but forget about using this membership to exchange for formulas. My formula can only be exchanged for star coins. Don't worry, after the successful launch of this potion, we can talk about other formula cooperation. At that time, I can give you a higher price, and I will definitely not let you, a little money grubber, suffer a loss. Zizio realized that he had gone off topic while talking, so he coughed a few times and brought the topic back. Did my brother tell you about my acquisition of the mall? Wen Jiu was a little confused by this. He did. Why do you want to emphasize it again? Do you want to show off your wealth to me? Ahem. What do I have to show off? Even if I don't show off, others know I'm rich. Zizio unknowingly changed the subject again. Well, I know you're rich. Wen Jiu looked at the time and was a little impatient. Then do you have anything else to say? I have to talk to another partner here. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up. Zizio called her again today via video, so he could see her poking and tapping on the light screen panel. Yes, of course. He was afraid that Wen Jiu would hang up the call. I want to ask you if you want to open a branch, that is, open a store in the mall I bought. If you are willing, I can rent you the store with the best location, and I can give you a discount on the rent, as long as you can deliver tequila to me every day. Zizio seems to be very idle, but in fact she is busy every day. He only had time to bother Wen Jiu at night. In addition to handling the affairs of AOS Pharmaceuticals during the day, he had to go to other industries of the Z family to inspect. Therefore, he had no chance to come to Wen Jiu restaurant for dinner. He only hoped that Wen Jiu restaurant could open tequila business. Let's not talk about opening a branch and delivering tequila. Why don't you call someone to help you buy it? Wen Jiu actually had the idea of renting a new store because Zhu Wangming sent a message a few days ago saying that Lao Chu's health was getting better and he would be able to be discharged from the hospital and go home in a few days. She paid a short-term lease here and Lao Chu had nowhere else to go, so she thought about taking the money back and returning the store to Lao Chu to continue running the store. But in this way, she would need to find a new store again. Although her vacation was only more than a month, she found that opening a store made more money than working in the college. She thought that, even if she went back to the college to attend classes, she could recruit people or buy robots to continue running the store. Then she would apply to leave the school every once in a while and come to the store to check the situation. Anyway, the payment was made by scanning the payment code, and the star coins earned would be directly transferred to her account. Moreover, she had observed when she went to the Donghu District shopping mall before that many stores there were operated by robots and real people. However, those robots were not particularly intelligent. They could only take orders, calculate money and make orders, or they could only cook food according to the program settings. In short, there had to be a real person watching over them. However, it was also easy to find a real person to watch the store, and the store could also install real-time monitoring, so there was basically no need to worry about the clerk being lazy or making trouble. You make sense. I should have someone help me buy it. Ziziu showed an expression of sudden enlightenment because he had never thought of asking someone to help buy it before. If I rent a store in your mall, is it a monthly rent or an annual rent? And how much cheaper can you give me in rent? How is the customer flow in the mall? Since they were talking about this topic, Wen Jiu asked what he wanted to know. Fortunately, Ziziu came prepared. He had already thought about getting Wen Jiu to open a store before he acquired the Donghu District Mall. Not to mention that the environment for opening a store here is better. He believes that with the other party's cooking skills, opening a store can completely increase the customer flow of the Donghu District Mall. Once the customer flow is high, it can drive the turnover of the mall. At that time, he can be said to be making a lot of money. How about it? Are you tempted? Ziziu answered the questions raised by Wen Jiu one by one. He also said that the rent can be paid monthly or annually. In short, no matter which one the other party chooses, he will rent it at a low price. You must know that most of the shops in the mall are rented out for half a year or a whole year, and rarely on a monthly basis. Ziziu is not only willing to rent to Wen Jiu on a monthly basis, but also promised to give the lowest price plus a friendly discount, which shows how sincere he is. So Wen Jiu thought for a while, and then slowly said, "Send me the store location and contract later. I'll think about it." She still had to think carefully about this matter. After all, there were only about 20 days left before school started. If she changed the store, she had to see if it needed to be renovated, and she had to investigate the customer flow of the Donghu District shopping mall. And she had to seriously investigate the customer base there, so that she could think about what dishes to make to attract customers. Seeing that Wen Jiu had the idea of opening a new store, Ziziu suddenly felt much better. He quickly agreed and showed the other party the latest packaging of the medicine. In addition to the previous plain white paper box, he also added some simple patterns on the paper box, making the whole paper box look more delicate and durable. Although Wen Jiu felt that this was completely unnecessary, adding patterns would not affect the cost much, so she let Ziziu go. Just when she wanted to hang up the call, she saw an extra person on the other side of the screen. "Jiu, I want to move to your house, but my brother." Before Zikingai could finish her words, Ziziu decisively hung up the call. She also mocked fiercely, "They are two girls living together. You should have gender awareness at your age. Besides, if there is a chance to live with Wen Jiu, it will not be your turn, because I will move to her first." Today's first update is delivered on time. Thank you to every little angel for your support and love. 030. Chapter 396 Preparations Before Making Big Money 1. Wen Jiu didn't know that the two brothers of the Z family were arguing about who could move in. After she was hung up, she quickly checked the new contract and plan. Because she really couldn't wait for the snowflake crisps she owed to her fans. She just wanted to sign the contract and produce snowflake crisps as soon as possible. So she had to sign the contract and plan as soon as possible. She carefully checked the contract twice and didn't find any problems, but she thought the plan could be slightly improved. So she sent her ideas to the person in charge of Wuiao Food, and the other party quickly called her back. "Hello, Miss Ko and Gungan, I have received your suggestions. I will let the person in charge of the plan take your opinions into account." Ming Yahan's tone was very friendly, and his words also revealed his idea of signing the contract as soon as possible. On the one hand, it was because he was optimistic about the prospects of snowflake crisps. On the other hand, it was because Wuiao Food's competitors, after learning that they were going to cooperate with the anchor to launch a new product, went directly to find a more famous anchor to discuss cooperation, hoping to suppress Wuiao Food's new product this time. Although he didn't think there was another anchor better than Gongzi Fake, he still hoped that the snowflake crisps could be put into production as soon as possible to seize the opportunity. Wen Jiu could naturally sense the other party's thoughts, so she agreed to sign the contract and start production first, and then discuss and modify the listing and sales plan later. As soon as she agreed, she heard Ming Yehan asked, "I don't mean to offend you, but I think we are about to sign a contract to become partners, and Miss Ku and Gun Gun should be honest with me. You are actually Gong Zifa K herself, right?" Hearing this, Wen Jiu reacted very quickly and asked back, "Mr. Ming, didn't you investigate Ms. Gong Zifa K's information before cooperating with Ms. Gong Zifa K?" She had to find out Ming Yehan's background first, and she was not sure how much information the other party knew about her, so she certainly couldn't admit that she was Gong Zifa K right away. "To be honest, I wanted to check, but I felt that as your partner, it would be a bit impolite to do such a thing, so I thought it would be better to ask you when we sign the contract. If you don't trust me, I can add a confidentiality agreement about your identity. No one else will know, except you and me. Gong Zifa K is a very young girl." Ming Yehan was actually guessing. He estimated that Gong Zifa K meant a source of wealth, and from the other party's voice and tone, she should be around 20 years old. Of course, it is also possible that she is younger. After all, the other party's voice is very crisp and slightly immature. But he always felt that Gong Zifa K was an adult, no matter how young she was, and he never thought about it in the direction of younger. "I'm indeed Gong Zifa K himself," Wen Jiu admitted generously. "Before I tell you more information, we have to sign a confidentiality agreement first. I don't want others to disturb my real life, and I hope you can understand this." Her behavior of covering up her true identity is actually very normal. Many anchors will deliberately hide their real information. On the one hand, it is to prevent harassment from overly fanatical fans or black fans, and on the other hand, some anchors will create a persona, just like Telly and Cheyenne before. It is easier to sell goods after shaping themselves into rich people. After all, many people have a strange mentality, that is, the things recommended by rich people must be good. They are so rich that they will definitely not cheat money, which leads to many anchors and internet celebrities to package themselves. Therefore, Ming Yehan can also understand her approach and will not be dissatisfied with her hiding her identity. So the two reached a common agreement to sign a confidentiality agreement first and then sign the subsequent contract. Fortunately, Ming Yehan had anticipated and prepared a confidentiality agreement. After he stamped his personal seal on the agreement, he sent it to Wen Jiu, and the other party would check it and sign it and send it back to take effect. To show my sincerity, let me introduce myself again. Ming Yehan of the Imperial Capital Star Ming family. I'm the founder of Wuiao Food, and I'm also the person in charge of this cooperation and future cooperation with you. There is nothing to hide about his identity. Anyone who knows how to use the Star Network can search for relevant information about him on it. In comparison, there was too little information about Gong Zifa K. All he could find were unreliable rumors. There were rumors that 3 or 4 husbands had died, she was working alone with 2 children, and she was even born a dwarf. He didn't know where these rumors came from. He suspected that these rumors were spread by Gong Zifa K's black fans. When Jiu was considering how to introduce herself, she didn't expect the other party to say so much at the beginning. She couldn't just say hello, I'm a miner. She had heard of the Imperial Capital Star because that was the planet where the Federation headquarters was located, which was equivalent to the capital city of China. Moreover, whether it was the information in the academy or the introduction on the Star Network, the existence of the Imperial Capital Star would be mentioned. It can be said to be a high-level planet among high-level planets. She thought about her own planet 3047 again. It was so desolate that it only had a number, and it couldn't be compared with the Imperial Capital Star at all. But the most important thing for a person is to be confident. Ming Yehan was from the Imperial Capital Star, so what? He still didn't have snowflake crisps to eat, and various delicacies to enjoy. He still had to rely on her little Wen Jiu. So she cleared her throat and whispered, Wen Jiu, who has no home on planet 3047, is currently studying in the academy. She didn't really understand why Ming Yehan brought up the Ming family when introducing him. In this era, is there still a royal family surname? Are you still studying? Ming Yahan just picked up a piece of peanut nougat, which Wen Jiu sent 2 days ago to show his sincerity. He ate it very restrainedly, fearing that he would finish it all at once, and it would be gone. There were only the last 4 pieces left, but when he was about to eat them, he was shocked by the other party's words, and dropped them on the carpet. There are only low-level planets with digital numbers, and there are no military academies on low-level planets, only preparatory military academies. Generally, the age of students studying in preparatory military academies is between 12 and 18 years old. That is to say, Gongzi Fake is not only a student, but also very likely a minor. Yes, so I'm usually very busy. Wen Jiu thought that the contract would record her real information, and it would be useless for her to hide her real name and real age. Anyway, she and Ming Yahan have signed a confidentiality agreement, so it's okay to tell him now. Sorry, let me take a minute. Ming Yahan first picked up the peanut nougat on the ground, then put it on the table, and began to think seriously. In fact, Gongzi Fake is a minor, and it won't have any impact on him, but the impact of this information is really great. He thought that the other party might be between 18 and 20 years old, but he didn't expect that the other party was not an adult at all. Today's second update is also delivered. Oh, give a kiss to every little angel who follows the update 030. Chapter 397 Preparations before making big money too. Thinking of this, Ming Yahan quickly asked, how can you sign the subsequent contract if you are not an adult? Can your guardian sign the contract for you? My guardian can sign the contract for me. Wen Jiu had already told Yu Ruman, you don't have to worry about this issue. Let's talk about the current problem first. That is, you are not allowed to disclose my real information. We have signed a confidentiality agreement. Ming Yahan never thought of leaking Gongzi Fake's information. He has been thinking about how to protect the other party's information. After all, Gongzi Fake is a very valuable partner. If someone uses real information to threaten him, it will bring him trouble. He was just shocked by the other party's age. He originally retained a little bit of luck. Maybe Gongzi Fake has become an adult and is about to graduate. Unexpectedly, the other party admitted that there would be a guardian signing together, and thus directly confirmed his underage status. The reality that should be faced still needs to be faced. Fortunately, only he knows these things. So he calmed down and said, Miss Wen, you can rest assured. As the founder of Wuiao Food, I promise you that no one else will know your real information except me. Well, in fact, you should be the 5th or 6th person to know. Wen Jiu said a witty remark to ease the atmosphere, but I still hope that Mr. Ming can abide by the terms of the agreement. Everyone is responsible for protecting Gongzi Fake. She had forwarded the contract to Yu Ruman after checking it before. At this moment, the other party just sent the contract back to her and reminded her to remember to protect her identity. So after she replied to Yu Ruman for a few words, she sent the signed contract to Ming Yahan, and her snowflake crisps could finally be put into production. Then let's follow what we agreed on before. I will send you the detailed formula when the deposit arrives, and then make a batch of snowflake crisps for free tasting, just to pay off the orders I owe to fans. After Wen Jiu and Ming Yahan checked the next process, they hung up the call and continued to check other information. She found that the customer who knew the handsome boy had not replied to her yet. She didn't know whether the other party had been offline or was busy and didn't see it. Anyway, she said everything she should say. She didn't expect the handsome boy to return the doll, but she was a little unwilling to be deleted inexplicably. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but pick up the cotton doll on the bedside. I don't know if it's a coincidence or for some other reason, this doll does look like the handsome boy. The mouth pursed into a line and the cold eyebrows and eyes basically restored the other party's cold expression. But she remembered that the other party's eyes were not this kind of blue like the sea, but the pure black like thick ink. Thinking about it, she clicked on the album and found the selfie of the handsome boy that she had saved. There were not many photos in her album, so the selfie of the handsome boy was particularly conspicuous. Wen Jiu held the cotton doll and compared it with the selfie, and then he found that except for the blue eyes of this doll, the other appearance features were exactly the same as the handsome boy. For example, the tail of the handsome boy's eye is slightly upturned and a little red, and the doll in her hand also has an upward eye line, and a little blush is applied to the tail of the eye. In addition, the other person's hair is tied up and hanging down casually, and the same is true for the doll's hair, and there is a small hair tied behind the head. Can there really be so many coincidences? Unfortunately, she did not add the store owner's Star Network account, so she could only wait until the next day when she went to the commercial district to ask. She was about to close the light curtain panel to wash up when she received a video from Lulu. The other party had edited the videos of her making hot and sour noodles and snowflake crisps, and she only needed to post them on the Anchor's Dynamics and Star blog. After thanking Lulu, Wen Jiu uploaded the two videos together. Big Brother Monkey, my favorite food anchor, finally updated the video. Monkeys, come and repost it. Green on the head, my favorite foodie, my favorite food anchor, updated the video. Monkeys, money lovers, please repost it quickly. I'm so hungry. The above prohibits nesting dolls. But why did Sister Farkay post it late at night? It's really unethical for you to do this. Crying expression. She didn't expect that less than a minute after she uploaded the video, so many fans who stayed up late appeared. And it didn't take these fans long to repost her newly uploaded video over 1,000 times and comment over 1,000 times, successfully raising the popularity to the point where it could enter the hot search of Zingbo Food Zone. Wen Jiu thought that she was busy with various things during this period and she could only broadcast for a short time at noon, which was quite sorry for these enthusiastic fans. So she selectively replied to some comments and interacted with these lucky fans. Just as she slowly slid down to view the comments, she suddenly found a few very discordant comments interspersed in them. Who is going to get rich? People who are taking advantage of their obscurity to commit crimes. Do they have any shame? The imitators will not live long. Love to eat Gillu Beast. Everyone, please stop adding heat to Hubie. Didn't you see that he is at the bottom of the hot search? Traffic money is also money, but I don't know if Hubie feels at ease with the money. Just a passerby, even a pure passerby, can see that the imitation is very strong. In short, everyone should go back to their own home and talk about it. There is no need to add heat here. Wen Jiu was confused by these comments. Could it be that the imitators and Hubie they scolded were her? Thinking about it, she went to Zingbo to search for her own topics, but all the results were all rainbow farts sent by fans, without any bad comments. At this time, Wen Jiu didn't know how strong her fans were. After browsing the topics, she just thought that those bad comments were mistaken. Although she wanted to say a few words back, these comments were all incoherent, so she didn't know where to start. So she silently chose to block and silence him, and only after doing all this did she close the light screen panel. He took my doll and ran away like this. Wen Jiu raised the doll in his hand while lying on the bed. If I find him, I will definitely beat him up. She had never encountered such a thing before. Although the cotton doll was not worth many star coins, and no matter how expensive it was not as much as the star coins transferred by the handsome boy. But she still felt very upset, and she felt like she was scammed. The other party not only cheated the doll and the talisman, but also cheated her mind. You look so beautiful, but you only know how to cheat my doll. If you have the ability, come and cheat me. Forget it. Don't cheat me of my money. You can cheat my feelings, but you really can't cheat my money. Wen Jiu stared at the cotton doll and talked to himself for a long time, then got up and put the doll back on the bedside, then walked to the door and opened it, calling Kaioshishi, who was waiting in the living room, to come in and rest. This is the last update of the day. That is the third update. Thanks again to every little angel for their support. 030. Chapter 398, Low Level Physical Recovery Potion 1. The two partners that Wen Jiu found were both very reliable. On the third day after the packaging of the improved low-level physical recovery potion was finalized, it was marketed on the Star Network and offline, and directly put on the market for sale. However, because time was relatively tight, Ziziu chose to sell it in the form of spot and pre-sale. He asked the factory to prepare 8,000 bottles of spot goods for sale first, and after they were sold out, they would be pre-sold in the offline store of AOS Pharmaceuticals or the online store of Sto Network, and it was guaranteed that the pre-sale orders would be shipped within 7 days, so there would be no need to worry about the problem of tight time and small quantity. Fifth brother, why don't you try it? This is a new arrival. Galileo Wu frowned and looked unhappy. After all, he was an old customer of this pharmacy. Moreover, he and the owner were friends who usually drank and ate meat together. This clerk actually dared to fool him with this unknown drug. He threw the box heavily on the counter. Shendatao, what do you mean? What I want is an intermediate physical recovery potion. It's okay if you give me a bottle of low level 1, but who dares to use this unknown little brand? Fifth brother, you really misunderstood me. This is what Brother Zhangson specifically told me to do. Shendatao apologized with a slightly panicked smile. Don't look at the fact that this potion is low level and the brand is unknown. But this medicine is better than the intermediate physical recovery potion, and it's a hot item in the current pharmaceutical market. We only have 8 bottles left in stock, and Brother Zhangson specially reserved them for you. Shendatao spoke in a kind voice for a long time, and only then did Galileo Wu's face look better. You kid, you're not lying to me, are you? He picked up the paper box and took a look. I've never heard of this AOS medicine. Hearing this, Shendatao hurriedly laughed and said, Fifth brother, you usually stay in the workshop to refine weapons, so naturally you can't receive the latest news from outside. Let me put it this way, I swear on my head, if I lie to you, my head will be 1 size bigger. Hearing this, Galileo Wu paid the money doubtfully. However, just in case, he still bought 3 bottles of intermediate physical recovery potion and left. Seeing that he finally paid and left, Shendatao breathed a sigh of relief and murmured, this thing is too difficult to sell. I don't know what the boss bought this unknown small brand potion for. Fortunately, I'm smart enough, otherwise how can I sell these 8 bottles? Galileo Wu didn't know that he was deceived by Shendatao again. After buying the potion, he summoned a hover motorcycle, rode it and flew towards his destination. He found out that his stamina recovery potion was used up just before he left. How could he be short of potions when he was going out to do a bounty mission? That's why he rushed to the pharmacy to buy a few bottles to take with him. When he arrived at the mission site, the others had been waiting here for a long time. Brother Wu, why are you here just now? If you come later, we brothers will set off without waiting for anyone. The people who were doing the mission with him this time were all old acquaintances. After he greeted each of them one by one, he got on the hovercraft used for the mission. This mission was not difficult. The employer needed 30 live flying squirrels. After they arrived at the ruins where flying squirrels appeared, they put on protective clothing, took tools and weapons, and started to capture flying squirrels in groups of 2. The flying squirrels here were small and only level 3. The people who were hired were all level 4 or 5 superpowers. They only needed to wear protective clothing and use weapons to capture them. There was no need to use mechas to make a big fuss. Hiss, these flying squirrels are too hard to catch. They are obviously only level 3 interstellar alien beasts, but how can they run like level 4 ones? Zhao Sihei sat on the ground and panted casually. He was only a level 4 water-based psychic. He and Galileo Wu wandered around in this area for a long time before they successfully caught 2 flying squirrels, which was far from the 10 set when they were divided into groups. These flying squirrels are probably intelligent, and their escape speed is no less than that of level 4 flying squirrels. Galileo Wu shrugged his shoulders in a nonchalant manner. He knew that this task was not that easy to do. If it was really just to catch 30 ordinary level 3 flying squirrels, there was no need to hire 6 psychics to complete it, not to mention that the commission offered by the employer was not low. Moreover, the location where they came to catch the flying squirrels was provided by the employer. He estimated that the employer had long known that the flying squirrels here were intelligent, otherwise he would not have hired them to catch them at a high price. Zhao Sihei couldn't help but sigh, and he took out a bottle of intermediate physical recovery potion from the wisdom ring space. He was exhausted after working so hard for half a day, digging holes in pits. If he had known, he would not have accepted this mission. Be careful. Just as he was about to gulp down the potion, he saw a huge flying squirrel beast rushing towards him. The size of this flying squirrel beast was twice as big as the one they had seen before. He was so scared that he didn't have time to react and threw the potion bottle in his hand at the flying squirrel beast. Galileo Wu quickly pulled out the tranquilizer gun and shot at the flying squirrel beast, but unfortunately the flying squirrel beast fled too fast and slipped into the ruins in just a few seconds and disappeared from their sight. What bad luck. Zhao Sihei looked at the broken potion bottles on the ground. I only have this one bottle of potion left. Damn flying squirrel beast. Unlike Galileo Wu, he did not have the skills to refine weapons. Even if he did not receive mercenary missions, he could still support himself by refining weapons. Generally, only level 5 psychics are needed for hiring tasks. There are very few tasks that level 4 psychics like him can take. Whenever there is a task that requires a level 4 psychic, he has to rush to take it. Although the commission for hiring tasks is not small, he has to bring his own things when he goes on most tasks, and he has to support a large family, so he can only save star coins to buy things for the tasks. This intermediate physical recovery potion is not cheap. If he hadn't wanted to finish the task quickly and get the money quickly, he would not have been willing to take out this last bottle and drink it. Don't be so dejected. You will have money after finishing this order. Galileo Wu and Zhao Sihei are old acquaintances, so they naturally know each other's financial situation. As he said that, he took out 2 bottles of physical recovery potion from the wisdom ring space, but he couldn't help frowning after taking them out. He bought a total of 4 bottles of physical recovery potion this time. He drank 2 bottles before and now only has 1 intermediate and 1 low level bottle left. Take it, drink it quickly, and continue to catch flying squirrels. He handed the intermediate bottle to Zhao Sihei. However, the other party waved his hand and said, I'll just drink the low level one. Fifth brother, you can keep the intermediate one. A bottle of low level physical recovery potion costs less than 1,000 star coins, but you have to spend 3 or 4 times the price to buy a bottle of intermediate physical recovery potion produced by a regular pharmaceutical company. If you want to buy a well-known brand of potion, you have to double or triple the price to buy it. Today's first update has been successfully delivered. Thank you for the support of every little angel 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399 Low-Level Physical Recovery Potion 2. Galileo Wu was too lazy to be pretentious with Zhao Sihei. He directly opened the packaging box of the low-level physical recovery potion, pulled out the potion bottle, opened the lid and drank it. The clear liquid medicine gave him a refreshing feeling as soon as he took it in. His tired limbs became lighter as he continued to swallow the liquid medicine, and his originally sleepy spirit became clearer after swallowing the liquid medicine. After he finished drinking the whole bottle of low-level physical recovery potion, he felt that his limbs were light and energetic, as if he had returned to his youthful appearance in his 20s, and his whole body was full of endless energy. Thank you, Brother Wu. I will return the money for this potion later. Zhao Sihei was still drinking the intermediate potion in his hand. He didn't notice that Galileo Wu had undergone a huge change at this time. He had just finished drinking a whole bottle of intermediate potion when he heard the other party shouting, "Let's go, Sihei. Brother will take you to play whack-a-mole." Galileo Wu rushed directly to the ruins, holding his breath and concentrating to summon 6 fireballs at once. Each one was as dazzling as the sun, and the raging fire directly swept through the ruins, but he felt that the energy in his body was very abundant, and he was not tired at all. Fifth brother, have you upgraded your ability? Zhao Sihei stared at the scene in amazement. He knew Galileo Wu's ability level. The other party was only a 5th level fire type ability user. When he was young, it was not a problem to set fire casually, but now that he is getting older, he is easily tired, and it is difficult to have as much energy as when he was young. But now Galileo Wu is like returning to his 20s, and he can easily burn out a bunch of flying squirrels. Ha 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 ha, Shen, that how really didn't lie to me. This low level physical recovery potion is better than the mid level one. This money is worth it. Galileo Wu looked at the raging fire triumphantly, and flying squirrels kept escaping under the high temperature. He picked up the tranquilizer gun and half closed his eyes. He shot one flying squirrel at a time. It didn't take long for him to catch 10, and even caught the big flying squirrel that had escaped earlier. TSK, 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 it's a level 4 flying squirrel. No wonder it runs so fast, and is so big. This level 4 flying squirrel does not need to be handed over to the employer. He can sell it alone for a higher price than the level 3 flying squirrel. It can be said to be an unexpected gain. He thought about it, and picked up the level 4 flying squirrel, and threw it in front of Zhao Sihei. Sihei, take it back and sell it. Brother Wu, this won't work. Zhao Sihei quickly refused. I really don't need money recently. Galileo Wu glared and said, don't think I don't know. Your wife is about to give birth and needs to be hospitalized. How many star coins does it cost to stay in the medical cabin? Your income is not enough. Before Zhao Sihei refused again, he picked up the remaining flying squirrel and threw it into his pocket, and then dragged the pocket towards the agreed meeting place. This time the hired task was successfully completed. Galileo Wu and Zhao Sihei's group completed it most easily, and the others were more or less slightly injured. After returning to their previous gathering place, Galileo Wu summoned a hoverbike and wanted to leave. Anyway, the person in charge of the organization would transfer the star coins to his account. However, the others gathered around with curiosity. They were all about the same age as Galileo Wu, so they were particularly curious about how he managed to return to youth. Old 5, is what Sihei said true? Brother 5, if you have any good stuff, don't hide it. Share it with the brothers. That's right, let the brothers return to their youth and show their prowess. Seeing this, Gale Old 5 scratched his head and replied, I just drank a bottle of low-level physical recovery potion, and then I felt that my energy was instantly restored, even more abundant than before. Old 5, don't lie to us. We are so familiar with each other. Don't hide the good stuff. Yes, it's not like we haven't used low-level physical recovery potions before. How can it be so magical? Except for Zhao Sihei, the others showed an expression of disbelief. This made Gale Old 5 anxious. He pointed at Zhao Sihei and said loudly, if you don't believe it, go ask Sihei, did I become radiant and energetic after drinking a bottle of low-level potion? I can testify for Brother 5, he did drink a bottle of low-level physical recovery potion, and then he started to have a fever. Zhao Sihei hurriedly helped the other party to testify. Hearing this, the others looked at each other in bewilderment. They really couldn't believe that a low-level potion could have such an effect, but they couldn't deny the fact. Not only did the eyewitness Zhao Sihei and Galileo Wu testify, Galileo Wu even left the packaging box in the space, and their group was indeed the first to complete the capture mission. Let me see, what kind of company is AOS Pharmaceuticals? I haven't heard of it, but the effect is so good. Could it be that a no-name company added unknown ingredients to the potion? It shouldn't be. Look at the quality inspection mark printed on this paper box. If there are unknown ingredients, it will definitely not pass the quality inspection. Several people looked at the remaining packaging box one by one, and then remembered the brand of AOS Pharmaceuticals in their hearts, thinking that when they go back, they will go to the pharmacy to find this brand of potion to try. Anyway, the price of low-level physical recovery potion is not high, and according to Galileo Wu, this potion is cheaper than other low-level potions, so they think it's not a loss to buy a bottle to try. However, after searching for a while, they found that only the pharmacy owned by Galileo Wu's acquaintance was selling it, so they rushed to buy all the remaining 7 bottles in the store. Zhao Sihei was the one who bought an extra bottle, and he gave the extra bottle to Galileo Wu to express his gratitude. As for the others, they kept it for themselves. After using it, they all discovered the magic of this low-level physical recovery potion. Then, word spread from one person to another, and more people went to the pharmacy to look for the potion of AOS Pharmaceuticals. Our store is really sold out. You can check it on Star Network. Don't worry, I will call you immediately if it arrives. Shen Datao sent away the 31st customer who came to ask today. He didn't expect that the low-level potion produced by AOS Pharmaceuticals would become a real hot commodity in just a few days. Their store originally only had 8 bottles in stock, which were accidentally brought back by the boss when he was purchasing goods. At first, he was still worried about how to sell this potion from an unknown company, but he didn't expect that in just a few days, it would turn around and become a hot potion. "Boss, when will the next batch of OS Pharmaceuticals medicines arrive?" Shen Datao called Zhang San, who was a hands-off boss. He was frequently asked about OS Pharmaceuticals' low-grade medicines these days, and he was really becoming a big head. "Don't worry, I'm talking to the supplier." Zhang San also wanted to get the goods back as soon as possible. He didn't know that the medicine he casually brought to make up the money would become so magically popular among the mercenaries. Today's second update is also delivered. Thank you again for the support of the Little Angels 030. Chapter 400 Low-Level Physical Recovery Potion 3. The first 8,000 bottles of ready-made potions produced by AOS Pharmaceuticals were not only supplied to their own stores, but also to suppliers, who were responsible for selling goods. However, the quantity sent by AOS Pharmaceuticals was not large, so the suppliers sold the low-level physical recovery potions they sent as potions to make up for the discount amount. But no one expected that these low-level physical recovery potions used to make up for the order successfully attracted a group of customers who wanted to buy it. TSK, Little Wen Jiu. You don't know how popular our potions are now. Not to mention that the online pre-sale has sold nearly 100,000. The offline orders are simply skyrocketing. Don't worry, the dividends will be transferred to your account later. Wen Jiu was patiently listening to Ziziu's complacent report. Although she knew that her potion was very effective, she didn't expect that the potion had only been on the market for 4 days, and it had successfully made a small world. "I have to thank you for selling so many. If your potion was not so effective, better than those mid-level or even high-level potions, I would have had a hard time breaking into the market, even if I bought a lot of marketing." Ziziu was speaking the truth, without any compliment. If Wen Jiu had not authorized him to use the improved potion formula, the previous low-level physical potion alone would not have sold much even on planet 3047, let alone selling it on other planets. The amount of potion they gave out was not much, but most of the people who came to the pharmacy to buy potions were mercenaries or people from the black market. Especially those mercenaries who took on missions everywhere. Many of them needed to save money, so the promotion of AOS Pharmaceuticals' low-level physical recovery potion was very smooth. In addition to being lower in price than other similar potions, the potion formula Wen Jiu gave was also very effective, which was completely incomparable to other similar potions. In this way, as long as one person uses a medicine of OS Pharmaceutical, he will promote this medicine to other mercenaries around him. In this way, the sales will naturally increase. Okay, I still need to discuss other cooperation here. Wen Jiu looked at the time and estimated that it was about time. "I'll hang up the call first. You can send me a message if there is anything." She was about to hang up the call when she heard Ziziu asked her to wait. "I think our cooperation this time is very successful. Why don't you tell me in detail about the idea of selling cold medicine before? I think your idea of occupying the civilian market is very good." Ziziu said this on the one hand to delay time, and on the other hand he really thought Wen Jiu's idea was very good. The competition in the federal pharmaceutical market is already fierce, and the military region has its own pharmaceutical research institute. These pharmaceutical companies can only promote new research and development in an endless stream to occupy the market of mercenaries in the black market. But few people would go to the civilian market in the pharmaceutical industry. If Wen Jiu could really authorize him to make some formulas for civilian daily medicines, he would be fully confident that he could capture the civilian market. "I'll call you later. My partners are waiting." Wen Jiu wanted to talk more about this, but her snowflake crisps couldn't wait. So, Ziziu had to grit her teeth and hang up the phone. He actually wanted to talk to Wen Jiu for a while, because he always felt that the other party was the good sister of his dreams. How could someone who was in line with his ideas and steps not be his biological sister? Why did he have a silly brother instead of a smart and clever sister? When Ziziu sighed here, he didn't know that another person was sighing with him. "Have you received the deposit for the snowflake crisps?" Although Ming Yahan already knew Wen Jiu's real age, he still didn't know how to communicate with him. It felt like he was originally talking to an adult, but now it suddenly became a chat with a child. Got it. Has the factory made the recipe I gave you? Wen Jiu closed her eyes and began to use her supernatural powers while listening to Ming Yahan telling her the situation. She insisted on sensing the vitality of the seeds in the basin every day, trying to use the wood-based supernatural power to make the seeds germinate, but the seeds did not move, no matter how hard she tried. It was made, but I don't think it's as delicious as yours. Ming Yahan said this not to please Wen Jiu. He was really curious about why this happened. He didn't think the other party would hide the recipe. After all, it had come to the point of signing a contract for cooperation, and the first batches made were to be given free to Wen Jiu's fans, so there was definitely no situation where the recipe was different. But it was very strange that the snowflake crisps made by the factory according to the recipe tasted different from those made by the other party. Hearing this, Wen Jiu thought for a while before answering. It shouldn't be. The recipe I gave you is the same as what I made. How could the taste be different? I'll send you the production process at the factory, and you can see if they made a mistake in any step. In order to ensure the production quality of Wuao food, Ming Yahan has cameras everywhere in the factory's production workshop. In addition, he attaches great importance to this cooperation with snowflakes. He not only went to the factory to watch the production in person, but also asked his assistant to record the process with a camera. He originally wanted to keep a file just in case, but he didn't expect it to come in handy so soon. How long did you bake this cranberry? And pistachios and melon seeds need to be fried. Didn't I write that they need to be fried? And how long to fry? Wen Jiu only watched the video for a while and found the problem. She said that she wrote the steps in the recipe very carefully and there shouldn't be a different taste. It was baked according to the time in the recipe and it was fried according to what you wrote. Ming Yahan thought about it carefully. This made Wen Jiu even more confused. She also saw the subsequent production process, which did involve roasting cranberries and frying nuts. However, she quickly figured out why this happened. I see. The time I wrote for you is based on the small amount of snowflake crisps I make, and your factory has to make a large amount at one time, so there will naturally be errors. How about this? You send me a copy of the factory machine data. I'll quickly recalculate it and then send you the new formula. Ming Yahan would naturally not let Wen Jiu do this kind of thing alone. He first passed the factory machine data to the other party and then calculated the appropriate time and temperature together. But as he calculated, he was thinking, why is Wen Jiu so smart at the age of 10, while his silly brother can only deal with mechas? It's really frustrating to compare yourself to others. Today's third update. Thank you for the support and love of the little angels who are following the update. Remember to rest early after reading 030. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.